it stops, no one knows. We're going head into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Well, hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to Criminality. Or if this is your first time here, welcome to Criminality. I have missed you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I was on a little hiatus because I was under the weather, as many of you guys now know, that I was healing. So I was back into chats and stuff yesterday. I tried my best to still watch other channels and do what I could, but my brain was like, I don't really even know what the fuck's happening. So I would pop in and say hi, and then I was like, I'm out. So I feel so much better. The only problem with feeling better is that all the shit that didn't get done while I was sick had to still be done. So last week I was under the weather. This week I have caught up on most of my household stuff that did not get taken care of. Not to mention, if you guys remember, my birthday was on September 11th. Well, my driver's license expired, so then I had to go to the DMV. And if you guys know anything about the California DMV, that's like a whole day excursion. So I did that, and my daughter's birthday, and then we had her birthday party with all of her friends at a trampoline place. So it's just like life has just been jam-packed, and so I think I'm back to being copacetic. I think we're good. But I'm going to say hi to you guys, but I want to let you guys know that this is not there's not a whole thing made for today for us to go over. I just missed you guys. I wanted to come on. I wanted to catch up and just go over anything that's happened while I was out, anything I might have missed that you guys want to make sure that I'm aware of. We'll go over a couple of the new filings. I don't think there's anything too major to it, but we'll talk about it. But this is more of a just chill, hang out, just catch up on life. And then tomorrow I have something more, what do you call it? Linear, put together for you. I just don't have anything today. I'm just going to chat with you guys. I think I have a court TV clip to play for you, and that's about it. But I just missed you guys, and I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to be feeling better. And how's Baloney Kid? He's fine. He hit his head yesterday, so that was a whole nother thing. You're supposed to renew a license. Yeah, I know it's kind of weird. It sucks. But now, if you guys don't know, you have to actually have what's called a real ID. I'm not going to get into the politics behind it, but if you want to fly after 2025, you have to have what's called a real ID. Well, I don't have one, so then I couldn't just do my little renewal thing over the internet, which would be normal. I had to actually go in there and show them paperwork. And also, if you don't know, if you get married, which I didn't know, if you also get divorced and then remarried and all this stuff, you have to bring in the history of your name, how you got to be who you are. And I'm like, this is stupid. My license already says fucking name, and I have to prove to you now how I got here. Come on. But anyway, it's just the DMV is ridiculous. I hate it. I had actually made an appointment back in July, but it was the same time. I made the appointment the same time I was taking my now 16-year-old in to get his permit. And they were like, no, you can't do, you're going to have to separate. And he's like, I'm not doing this by myself at 15. He's like, I don't know what to do in the DMV. And I'm like, fine, I'll just do his. I'll reschedule. And then, of course, I never rescheduled it. And then my license expired. And I'm like, fuck it, I got to go in there as a walk-in. This is fantastic. But that's life. And the police. Let me say hi to you guys, and then we'll just get started on whatever we want to talk about. So if you are here and you are thinking that there's going to be like some grand anything, I want you to be aware that you can go ahead and skip out now, because this is going to be super chill. It's not, there's not like I said, there's no planned any whatever. We're just going to chill. Yeah, the history of my name, Tom. I was given it when I was born. Well, see, you guys don't change your name. So, well, I don't know. I guess men more days now do. But hi, Joanna. Chat got angry? They did? Oh, shit. Hey, Gabby. I had to legally change my name to get a federal ID. My social security card and birth certificate had 2 different last names. Don't ask. Yeah, it's a stupid mess. I was like, no, like, what happens when these people have like been married and divorced multiple times? And then they have to like go through every step of how their name got to be what they are. Yeah, no grand anything, Hammy. Hi, Sleuthy. Look, you had a notification. I know Sleuthy had messaged me, and I wasn't sure exactly what was going on with me. And I was like, I don't know if it's my allergies. I don't know if it's my sinuses. It ended up where I had some. Okay, this is just dumb too. So we're gonna get into it real quick. But you know, like back in the day, like back in my day when I was young, when we had to like walk barefoot uphill both ways in the snow to get to school, the flu was like a stomach virus. Like you vomited and all the yucky stuff that came with the flu. You had a fever, you had chills and all that stuff. That was the flu. And then if you had something going on with your face, like your nose or your sinuses, it was a cold. That's like, it was very simple. And it probably wasn't really that simple, but that's how I was raised if I had a flu or if I had a cold. But now it's not really like that. So now you can have weird sinus stuff and it actually is a flu. It's ridiculous, but apparently I had the flu. But I didn't have the flu. Not the flu the way that like the flu is supposed to be. But anyway, I had some flu, which I would have diagnosed myself with like a sinus infection. But my head was just so clogged and so, yeah, we really did be walking to school and back though. That's true. We did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of miles. Yeah, influenza is a respiratory illness. See, that doesn't even make sense, the royal we. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, see, Adrian? So, but apparently I had a flu that's not a flu. So, take it for what you want. But I would like, Sleuthy's like, you have to listen to this interview, because I was still getting like stuff for the Madeline Soda stuff. She's like, have you listened to it yet? She's like, I need to know what you think. And I'm like, I can't even make it through 5 minutes. My head hurts so bad. I feel like I'm dying. It's the Kung flu. Yes, Criminal Network. That's what it is. Hey, Brandola girl. Hi, Greenie. Flu is barfing. Nose stuff is cold. Right? Yeah, no, that's not. You know, I'm not a doctor. Even though I would say I kind of know my shit, but apparently not. Hi, Mandy. Missed you guys. I miss you guys. At a cross-country meet. Like I was saying, like this is just me catching up on almost now 2 weeks. I think my last live was like 2 Fridays ago, right? I think. I don't even know. It's okay. A norovirus is going around Mexico, California from fruit and veg. Wash that stuff. I always wash that stuff. I've been hearing people really sick with a virus. Yeah, I didn't get diagnosed with that. I don't know. That maybe that's a subcategory of it's like, I don't know. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Barefoot, uphill, both ways. You got it. That's what we did. That's how we did it. Hi from the 3021. Oh, hey, Carrie. Oh my goodness. Carrie, 6-month member. Woot, woot. And gifted 5 memberships. So thank you guys. And and Scully popped in before I was live and said, thank you for all you do. I'm glad you're feeling better. I'm going to catch the replay. Like and subscribe, y'all. Like and subscribe, y'all. Thank you, Scully. All right. Let me see. Judge Jessica. Hey, Judge Jessica. OMFG. I got that when I was 21 from the Atlanta airport. It was a whole thing. Uh-oh. What did Judge Jessica talk about up here? Let me go up. Okay. So I want to know if anyone recalls Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I recall that. That sucks. These kids get it all the time, but I don't remember it from back in my day. I don't remember. I got it as an adult, but from my kids. So I don't know. That was still a long time ago. You know, kids don't get chickenpox anymore. That's another thing that's like weird. I had chickenpox twice. Hi, Carla. I've been married 4 times. I'd have the DMV so confused. Now that's funny. So speaking of this, so I want to say a little prayer for everybody that's down in Florida where the hurricane is hitting, and it should be hitting, I think, in about 3 hours if I was calculating it correctly. So if you are in Florida, please get the fuck out and go somewhere there's not a hurricane coming. That's my first advice. My second advice is please just hunker down, whatever you need to do to stay safe. You're in my thoughts, you're in my prayers. Just make sure that you just stay the fuck away from the hurricane. But there was a video that came out online about a couple that was getting married, an older couple, speaking of remarriages and stuff. A couple was supposed to be getting married on the beach, and the gentleman's ex-wife was the hurricane's name. So they had to cancel their wedding based on a hurricane that's named after his ex-wife. I was like, that's fucking karma. Hi, Jen. Let's see. Indiana DMV is way easier. Yes. The DMV in the Midwest is so much easier. Hey, Oz. Yeah, just chill. I got nothing major, nothing special. I'm just gonna touch on stuff and things, whatever. What's up, DB? Sleuthy Dunna HIPAA. she HIPAA violated me, telling everybody I had allergies, which I was like, maybe that's what it is, because I don't normally have allergies. You want to do an open panel, Sleuthy? Oh God, we could do it. I'm fine with it. You know, those never you never know what's going to happen with an open panel. Yeah, DMV sucks. Okay, I'm getting up here. Hey, True Grit Crime. A real ID. Yeah, that's why I said I'm not going to get into the politics of it because it's ridiculous. But because apparently our IDs are not real IDs anymore, so now you got to get a real one. Stupid. What's up, Giselle? Hi, Luke. You had a real ID in 71. That must have been your past life, because I don't even think you were born in 71, DB. And don't get married. It's too late, Artem. I already did it. Hey, women doing impossible things. Yeah, you probably do. Make sure you do it beforehand. All right, let me see. I don't know if I missed it. I probably missed a ton of you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Like I said, I've missed you guys. Hey, Scarlet Letter, Influenza, H1N1, oh, fucking A, H3N2A, and Influenza B are cold-like with a fever and body aches. Norovirus makes you puke and shit. Look at that. There's life lessons for you right there. Why doesn't Influenza B have all those fucking letters? Why did A get it but not B? Where's all the letters that go with B? And influenza is the flu, and the flu is a stomach ache. I don't know. Hand, foot, mouth. I have so many questions. We got hand, foot, mouth in kindergarten, but thank God it wasn't nearly as bad as it was. Yeah, some people just have it a little bit, and then other people get it really bad. Hey, Mother of Dragons. Your daughter's their Tampa. She needs to get out. Yeah. Yeah, just move, bro. Just get out of Florida. Just go. Get the fuck out. Where am I supposed to? Callie, you can get over here. Start driving. Come on, Tammy. And Nerdy's walking around out there. How does that not surprise me? Ooh, shingles. Yeah, no thank you. Never had that. Just chickenpox twice. Yes, open panel. All right. You got shingles while you were pregnant? My sister-in-law did, and when my niece was born, she was born with chickenpox, like chickenpox on her face. It was very weird. But then she never got chickenpox. So what are we doing a 1 for? Is a 1 for an open panel? Or is that what we're doing? You guys want an open panel? I'll fucking drop it. Like I said, I just wanted to touch base on everything. Hi, hybrid. So exchange hurricanes for earthquakes. Laugh mask. No thanks. I missed you, hybrid. I missed you. viral meningitis in your 20s and had to get what the fuck? Damn. I asked the doctor to just kill me. Honestly, R&M, that's how I felt on my third birthing event of my third child. I said, I'm done. Just tell my children I love them and I'm leaving this world. I'm out. It was so bad. All right, you guys want it. I'm going to do it. Never had chickenpox. Hold on. Never had chickenpox. My mom got them really bad when I was 6, and the vaccine didn't come out until I was in my teens. Maybe I'm immune. But how did you not get them especially if your mom had them? Back in my day, this is so weird. I'm like so fucking old. Back in my day, our parents used to have chickenpox parties. So if your friends or your like cousins ever got chickenpox, they'd like call all the other moms and be like, hey, come on, bring your kids over. And then they bring all the kids over and purposely subject them to getting chickenpox. They like tried to make their children sick. Ugh, so bad. But I got them when I was 3, but apparently not enough to make my immune system. So I got them again when I was 13. Yeah, you tried to get your kid to get them that way? Yeah, that's fucking mean, you guys. We were abused. They're like, no, go get sick. We don't care. Intentionally giving us diseases while they're out there working on vaccines so nobody ever has to have them. All right, it's going to happen. All right, I need to actually go on YouTube. Ooh, All Eyes was on 2 hours ago. I need to go watch that. Hold please while I'm trying to remember where all the buttons of things are. All right, this could get dangerous or it could be super chill. Let's hopefully stick with super chill. All right, Sleuthy asked for it. Sleuthy got it. All right, the StreamYard link is pinned. Hit me with your best shot. Remember, I've been gone a little bit, so we can. Who's going to be first? It should be you, since it was your idea. Oh, you watched All Eyes before this? Hey, it's Carrie. What's up, Carrie? It was your idea.
What's up? Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. What's happening?
Not much. I figured there'd be more. There we go. I was like, am I the only one?
You might be. You never know.
Oh my gosh.
Fiend's driving.
Oh, Fiend's driving. Okay.
All right.
Well,
So what?
Is the one that wanted this whole open panel. Where the hell's she at?
I know, right? That's what I said. I mean, she's the one who. Yeah, Sleuthy's like, everybody's gonna get on panel and I'm not.
That's the equivalent of saying everybody do shots and then you sit there and just watch.
Or you just drink water. You're just like.
Oh my God! Don't you? Oh.
So I've been gone for almost 2 weeks. Essentially, what I know has transpired is there she is. Hi, girlfriend.
I'm so glad you're alive and the allergies didn't kill you.
I know, right? I was like, where is she?
That was the longest sabbatical from YouTube, I think, ever. I don't even know what I've been watching, to be honest. I mean, I've been everywhere.
I'd pop into ATS and I'd pop into R&M, and I think that was about as much as I got. I think I maybe got into one of Sleuth Intuitions, but I was done. I couldn't stay. I'd pop in, I'd say hi, and I'm like, I gotta go. I couldn't like comprehend anything anybody was saying. Like my house, I was like everybody talking. I was like giving me a headache, and I was like, I already have people screaming in the background like little tiny humans, and I'm like, I can't. I don't even know what's happening. I gotta go.
I mean, I rearranged and organized all 3 closets, and
look at you being all productive.
Oh, you should see my closet. And then like I had to go get more hangers so that I could I've transitioned now to all velvet.
Ooh.
I've hung up all my pants. I put together a four cube thing from Better Homes and Gardens, which if you didn't know, the containers are bigger than like the Walmart brand of the cube containers.
Okay.
So they hold more, and they're actually like really nice. You know how like I'm a fan of generics, but some things I can't. Like I use Dove body wash. I can't use the off-brand of that. Like
Oh yeah, no.
I feel you.
There's only certain things I can do with generic stuff. Okay, I got a couple people backstage. I'm going to add them.
yeah.
Kraken, you have your camera on. I see you. I don't know if you want to keep it on. You good with that? Okay, I'm going to add you. You can turn it off if you want. And then Carla, I see you back there.
I don't know why it won't let me hook it up to this. Oh well. If you have any problems hearing me, let me know.
I don't have any problems. I don't typically have any of the weird
problems adding. Yeah, I had problems adding like a mic and Bluetooth earbuds and anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it kicked me off of them. Yeah. I only do this for a living, but for some reason I haven't figured it out today.
You're like, I don't know what's happening. So Suki has just generously told me that she's actually more productive when I'm not around.
Yeah, but I hate it. Though. Like my closet looks great, but like
I thought we weren't going to tell her.
Yeah, that more shit gets done when I'm not live. That's good to know.
I mean, that should tell you something. We could be doing all kinds of shit.
We could be,
but we come here instead.
So we're at like basically at like the final countdown. Like, what are we at? 18? Is it 18 days at this point?
It's less than 21.
It's less than 21. So we got what? 14. The 14th is when jury selection starts in Allen County, and we're what, the 26th. So 27, 28, 29, 30. That's 4. We're about 18 days away. 17.
Yeah, but like, I feel like it still hasn't clicked in my head that like, okay, so trial starts in 18 days, but like, ain't like we can hear it. Like we're still not gonna know what's going on. Like that still hasn't clicked into my head because it's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard. That's not going to be even just audio.
It's extremely frustrating because it's like the more technologically advanced we get, the more transparent things should be. Mm-hmm. And the more technology advanced we get, the more we're finding to nail people. P. Diddy, an example. And then they're the exact cases that we're not let in on.
Well, it's like she'll say that the way that the media is why she won't let people in for the trial. But it's like,
it's worse.
I was gonna say, like, it's not like it's any better. Number one, and number two, you've had instances where things happen at the courthouse during these pre-trial things. So maybe you could deter people from showing up if you would put it on the TV or even just audio.
You would think she would want to be the most transparent. I can't remember if it was you. A lot of us follow the same group of people. So it could have been Bob. There's someone in our group that we're all on the same pages for that says something to the effect of, oh, it was on your page. The gentleman that helped with the appeal for the original lawyers. Didn't he say that Judge Gohl has had the couple of issues have all been around kind of the same things? Where she had done something with someone else's counsel, which was kind of against ethics. The only other time she did A, B, and C, it got overturned. It's like we're following the same issues with her, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So there was another one, and Sleuthy's probably better to talk about that than me, but it was Osbrook that was on. And I think he said it on a couple different channels, so we probably heard it a couple different times. But she had another issue where she had removed some counsel, and then they were fighting back against it. I think the outcome was that counsel actually stayed off, though. Sleuthy, am I wrong on that?
I don't really know what we're talking about. I know that there was one. There was one where she removed counsel, and she said, and this might be the one you're talking about, but she removed counsel, and she said that he wasn't like, I don't want to, not good, and he wasn't experienced enough.
Right. So she kind of unethically removed him because it was for his best interest, but that wasn't her decision to make, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that wouldn't be her call.
Well, yeah, I think it benefited her, if I remember correctly, to speed things up.
Well, it's like it's not your it isn't your call. If I want a, you know, if they know if they're licensed to practice law and criminal law in the state that I want to hire them in, if I'm hiring them, because that's what it was a hired person, it wasn't like a public defender. If I want to hire
no.
Yeah.
I think Catastrophe, it's on the screen. I think Catastrophe said it. She removed a death penalty private attorney because she didn't feel they were equipped.
We lost Carla.
Does she have the?
But that's an opinion. That's her opinion.
Exactly.
It's
Well,
still her client's decision.
That's what we're getting into when she makes moves like this in plain sight, and we're watching her do what she's doing now, and she wonders why everyone's acting a fool. Because you're not showing your hand.
Well, the problem is that case that I'm thinking of, I almost feel like it was like a famous person, but maybe not. I can find it. Is that they were going to fight it and they didn't. So the problem with that is that when you don't fight it, then it's like, okay, well, if I did it that one time, I could do it the next time and the next time and the next time.
And I do feel that, in my opinion, just like an overlooker of just human behavior, which is kind of where some of my background's in, she's far past should have retired just in her behavior, regardless of age. It's not an ageism thing. There's just a lot of complacency on her part, in my opinion, and a lot of gray lines, to put it nicely.
I just think that if I were her, I would say, okay, I've been keeping this stuff out of, like, I'm not allowing cameras and I'm not allowing audio, even audio that I control as the judge.
Right.
And these defense attorneys keep making these accusations about me and all of these pleadings about how I'm biased and I say this and that. And I'm, to the point where she was paranoid to write them emails. And like, I just think that if it were me, I would be like, for the trial specifically, I'm going to make it public because nobody's going to, like, I would get real tired of the whole, like, don't say I said something that I didn't say. So I'm going to put it out there so they can hear what all of us are saying.
Well, and in reality, it should be. I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier today about, someone else, I think DB put it up about, we'll never see a federal case, right? That's the problem. Like, at what point do we, the people, have to start demanding that we get to be in real time and not based on somebody's willy-nilly decision if and when we might get something in the future, and then we still don't even 100% know if it was 100% correct. We have to assume, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what gets me is she is such an advocate, like in the state of Indiana, for open court, for cameras, for audio. And then all of a sudden she's like, nope, I don't want none of that. And it's like, what you gotta know that you're gonna get such a public backlash and a public questioning your decision. And well, then what are you really doing, lady? What are you trying to hide? And I think a lot of it has to do with ego.
That's what I was going to say.
I think she's
ego. It's I got this. Look at me. I brought those into the courtroom. Look at me. It's on my resume, but not in my courtroom.
Well, the only reason, because she hasn't really given a reason for the trial, really, per se, but the only reason that she's given so far to not have cameras or audio in the courtroom is because, and this was many denials ago, like she's not given current ones when she's denying people like today, but the old excuse was because when she, and I think it reflects very poorly on her that the only time she ever allowed cameras was when she intended to boot them from the case and publicly embarrass them.
But that's not bias. Not at all.
Yeah. And she uses that particular instance as an excuse because she was heard, like they didn't start on time, but the cameras, I guess, started recording on time when they were supposed to start. So by the time she walked in and said there was an unexpected turn of events, they were already recording and she got upset because they were recording even though the hearing wasn't happening. And the reason she was upset, if we're going to be honest, is that she outright lied and the whole world saw it. So that was the reason.
Exactly. Once everybody got the transcripts and realized she lied, that it wasn't an unexpected occurrence and that it was all planned to happen that way.
That's why it was an absolute planned occurrence. But I think that the other part is that she's trying to use the excuse of the court TV stuff, like the pool camera. But ultimately in Delphi, there's stationary cameras, like how other trials have been with Daybell and how it was going to be with Koberger with Judge. Now it's all changed, but there's stationary cameras in the courtroom, so she could control exactly what's viewed and not viewed, and when the cameras are on and not on,
And the
and
audio.
she's still choosing to not do it. I guess for me, I'm more flabbergasted at this point that the media coalition in Indiana has not put up a much bigger fight when this is one of the biggest trials and most costly trials for the state of Indiana that they don't want. Why doesn't the media actually want it shown? Why aren't they fighting harder?
They said they were going to, and then they didn't. So then she knew that every time they were going to give her basically a threat in terms of this is what we're going to have to do if you deny it again because it's not right, they're not going to follow through. So now she could just deny. She knows they're not going to do shit, and they're not. I don't know why.
But if it's strategic, though, like I'm always thinking 3 plates ahead. Could we, as we media, right, whoever's filing, could be doing it strategically to file it at such a late moment she doesn't have a lot of time to backpedal? She almost gets forced into it.
No, she'll just deny it without a hearing.
Yeah, no.
But there's no way to go above her.
No.
Not at all.
No, she it's not going to happen. They put up more of a fight to get that PCA unsealed than they're putting forward in order to be able to have the world see the trial.
Does anybody have a direct contact to anybody at that coalition?
No, how many media contacts out there?
Let me see if I can find something. T, I was looking for your email the other day. Can you pop it up on the screen?
Yeah.
Please? Thanks.
So,
I mean, she's got to realize how many people are going to flood that town. I mean, I looked at hotels over that way the other day, and they're already booked up. I mean, there's a lot that are already. I mean, there's still some available, but they're not cheap.
The Carroll County Courthouse is really small. She's just going to limit the number of people they can get in every day. But on top of that,
so she wants a mob outside. Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like I don't know.
But then again, it's not her county. She doesn't care what happens. She's just there for a minute. I find it
strange she's not providing a reason. I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that it should just be no because I said so, because that's not what she's supposed to do. That's good. And so
that's like Gold's rule, because I said so.
Yeah, if the reason is because you want to have a fair trial, like everything that you would be concerned about with regard to publicly airing a hearing or a trial is non-existent once you already have the jury and they're there, unless you know that this is not going to be the only trial. Then in that case, not having the trial be public would benefit whatever the second set of jurors will be. For a second.
I mean, that isn't a reasonable assumption, you know.
No. Well, and I think too, we've got 2 things here. One, Bob brings this up a lot. Karen Reed and this case is one of the only few cases that have ever put the defense out sooner, which is why media is going nuts. We've never seen such transparency, right? So it's like, no, bring it back. But the other thing is the chaos is also because they're trying to keep things so secret. That's why everyone's up in arms. So I just don't get it. But I'm also not trying to hide
But
anything.
the thing is whatever they're trying to keep secret is supposedly going to come out at trial. So why would it matter not allowing cameras in there at trial?
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, and then even watching like,
unless
John
she knows it's going to end in a mistrial.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like with Reed. I feel horrific for the families of the victims, in this case, in that case, where it's almost like, oh, well, it's just a practice trial. We'll do another one. It's like, this is someone's life. This is justice for other people's life. You want the right person. And this case in particular in Indiana is just like, okay, we're doing wins and losses and attaboys. That's how I guess we do law there. That's what it looks like from the outside.
I almost think some of it has to do with her wanting to protect Nick because he's so inexperienced with shit like this. Like I mean, come on.
Why she's not biased, right? Not biased at all.
He is not prepared. If anybody should be removed for being too new and unprepared, it's him.
Well, he should have had a special prosecutor from the beginning. I'll never stop saying that.
Definitely.
He should have stepped off the case and gotten a special prosecutor, or at least had one that was his second chair. But I don't know. The way that this whole thing has gone down is perplexing. Let's talk about the jury view for a second. So that was a filing that had come out while I was out, and so the defense has requested that the jury be able to go and view the scene, essentially the bridge, the crime scene itself, the south side of the bridge, which is on the Weber side, the CPS parking lot, or what would have been, what used to be. And they want Richard Allen to go, but they say if the logistics are too much, they're fine with him not going as long as the jury can go. So one,
and I just want to say that's not like unusual to say that. Like Karen Reed
she didn't go.
Yeah, she was out on bail. Like she wasn't even in prison or jail, and she still was not allowed to go. And the judge does not go. Like I've heard people say the craziest things about this jury view, and I'll let you keep going, Teresa. But the judge doesn't go. As much as I'd love to see her like walk across the creek in Waiters, we talked about this the other day.
But she can't bring her phone because we don't want geofencing to show up.
Yeah, so like she won't go.
That's okay. They don't know how to use it anyway.
Yeah, she wouldn't go. And also, to be clear about what they're asking for, they're not asking for the jury to be able to walk the exact path that Nick thinks that the killer and the girls took. They don't need to tromp through.
I was going to say they can't anyway because it's all changed. The bridge is, you can't cross the bridge anymore. Like everything out there has changed drastically. So I don't even see the point in taking them out there.
They wouldn't put them at a safety risk and have them cross the bridge. What they're going to do is have them go from the Mears parking lot, where the girls get dropped off. They'll have them walk the trail. They'll go from the Freedom Bridge. They'll go over to the old empty, which is just empty field now, of the CPS lot. They're just going to show them like the main points of everything. They won't have them walk a path. They won't have them walk an actual path. They'll just show them, hey, this is where these things have, the most important pieces that you need to be able to visualize as the prosecution and the defense are talking to you about the scene. That's it. Most of the time, they won't even talk. They're just like, here, go look at this, go look at this, go look at that, and that's what it is.
Are they going to ban?
And they don't think that the media is not going to follow them all out there. Like, that's crazy.
Well, the media will be out there, but they'll block it. They'll block it. They'll say, here's your perimeter, and this is where you guys can stand as the media, and then you guys can video from there, and that's all you get. So
I don't think they would have to worry. I don't think media, like legitimate media, I don't think they would have to worry about them.
Right.
Well, I'm just thinking about the drones.
Well,
they can't stop drones because as long as they're under the X amount of feet for the FFA, I don't think they can say no drones in public property. So they're going to be drones.
The problem is going to be the jurors being there, and I don't think that. I mean, they'll be able to view things, but if somebody puts out something about the jurors, they're going to be held in contempt.
Exactly.
Well, that's my thing.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to stop the cameras from showing the jurors.
Also,
well, they do. I mean, typically they do. They don't. Normally, the media isn't trying to fuck up the trial. They're just trying to get the scoop. So,
it would be
come on.
Mistrial.
Let's be realistic here.
Like that would be really silly because immediately they would it would be an immediate mistrial. It would be like that would be the dumbest thing you could possibly do.
But we're talking about people without ethics reporting on
exactly.
Like it's those people that are causing the rest of us who have valid interests and ethics when it comes to reporting. It scares me a little bit that she's got them round up in a hotel 7 days a week for like 3 weeks straight, and there's going to be a field trip and one picture of the jurors and everything. That's concerning.
Well, I think that
all you need is Fiend hiding in the cornfield.
I think being in a hotel is probably a good idea. I also think that and it could be why it's going to be denied, but I also think it could be very, very beneficial to the jurors to see not even like just the locations like not just see, like for me, and we were talking about this the other night, like for me as a juror, it would be very helpful for me to see, like, if one of the arguments is going to be that the girls were covered with sticks to try to hide them from view, it would be important for me as a juror to see that they were left in a clearing, as opposed to in a more dense part of the woods, because you don't drag or carry bodies to put them in a clearing, like the only clearing, to then try to cover them up. Do you know what I mean? So I would immediately be like, there's no way they were trying to cover them. First of all, it was like 3% of their bodies were covered, which is nothing. And second of all, you wouldn't bring them, if they were moved and staged, you would not bring them to an open area to then only cover 3% of them.
I agree. And I think too, the perspective of, well, I guess I'd have to say we'll have to see a lot of you are so versed in this, and I'm more of just a viewer. But I know there's the perspective of, well, there are a lot of people out looking. Nobody saw them. They were on Ron's property. But
that'll be important too.
Yeah, because it's like if they weren't there in a clearing in daylight, or when people were out till what 10 o'clock, 11 before they sent everybody home, and maybe someone who went to the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning might have just put them there. So, they can even see that if no one saw them at this time in this clearing, I think it really would be a good visual.
Visibility is important.
How are they going to take him to Ron's property without mentioning it's Ron's property, though? I mean, I know you could just not say whose property it is, but I'm sure they're going to.
So they don't have to use Ron's name. They can use his son's name because it belongs to him. What's his name? Ryan?
And they could just say that it's private property.
Yeah, just say property offside the park. Yeah.
So as of right now, so today she puts out an order essentially saying that this is going to be under her review, pending a response from the prosecution. And
which I'm sure he'll object to.
And that's just ridiculous to me too. I don't know why he would object. Like that, it doesn't make sense. It's also
because I think it'll benefit the defense. I think it would benefit the defense. Yeah. I think not
the benefit is to the jury. So I don't know. And then they can use it however they want when they're using their witnesses. Like hey, when you were in this area, then the jury can visualize it. So it shouldn't hurt anybody for a jury to be able to go out there and see what happened.
Well, it would.
But the problem is there's so much to do with the girls out there now, like little memorials. I think that would be prejudice to the defense, to be honest with you.
Wouldn't have any of that. That would all be gone. They'd have to
they would get rid of that before that.
They should.
Come on.
I should.
It's Carroll County.
I don't know, but they should. Yeah, it should not be there when they go there.
I don't think there's really that much out there currently.
I know right where the bridge is, there's a memorial. At least there was a couple months ago.
Yeah, I think there's little ones like at the sign and like at the bridge itself.
And there's actually like a wooden memorial, like something that maybe the county or the city or something put out there, like a memorial type. There's something wooden out there with their names on it, but it's something that's not easily moved.
It's by the softball field?
Well, there's also like one of the at the park, there's a field named after them or something, but there is something out there at the bridge that has to do with the girls. It's pretty much like a permanent fixture that I don't think they would be able to remove, if I'm correct.
Have you been there?
I haven't personally been there. My sister went out there. It's been a few months ago. She lives near there, and her husband do a lot of biking and cycling and stuff, and they went up that way, and she had because she wasn't exactly sure where they were because she doesn't really follow the case, but she had mentioned something about they had gone cycling up near this really tall bridge, and she said something, and she goes, and I think it had something to do with those murders. And I was like, who? Abby and Libby? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, you were at Monon High Bridge? And she's like, I think that's what it was. And I was like, are you serious? And
you didn't tell me, so I could go in.
Yeah, I was like, are you serious? And she's not a true crime fan or anything like that, and she was just here this weekend, and I said, hey, it's getting ready to get crazy up in your area, and I said I might need to come stay with you for a couple nights. And she's like, okay. And she asked me what was going on, and she opened up that rabbit hole for me, and she's like, I'm sorry I asked.
I'm wondering too, I guess it probably comes down to money too. I'm just thinking technology wise, and with 3D stuff now, I realize boots on the ground is a completely different visual experience. But there's the one gal during Reed that made the reenactment with the 3D about the way that the glass would hit a car versus John hitting the car and how real it was. I'm thinking, just thinking out loud, if they end up not doing it but still want something, that stuff's available. Unfortunately, it's time and money because it's a very tedious job to.
She does a great job. She's
amazing.
She does a great job.
Hold on.
I have Baffy. Are you you want your camera on? I see you, but I don't know if you want to keep your camera on.
Goal would have to approve something like that. We don't know if she's gonna. I think that.
Well, if Nick asks.
Yeah, it's me. It's Michael.
Hey, Michael.
The reason I put Baffy up there and out there.
I can hear you.
Did he freeze?
We can hear you.
Did you freeze?
I don't hear him.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
okay. The reason you put Baffy
still talking. Okay, on the Delphi documents, the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
He must be under a delay or something.
No, I was just waiting for that to go on. But the Joint Terrorism Task Force being involved with an investigation right there in Delphi, prior to Delphi, that is on documented file right there in the Delphi case right now, correct?
I don't actually know. So
yeah.
Where are we going? You tell me where we're going and I'll see if I remember.
Okay, how the defense got out of the Joint Terrorism Task Force and the FBI, they were already on an investigation prior to Delphi even becoming a thing.
Yes.
They were already in Delphi on an investigation. That investigation started with me, Baffy, and my FBI handler, Michael Curtis.
Okay.
And there was individuals, a militia group, they're training on Ron Logan's property. That investigation started days after Karina McClurkin's case. And they had to get permission from their bosses to do the in-person investigation on individuals like Brad Holder and his militia group training right there on Ron Logan's property. Why do you think they went after Ron Logan, thinking they had enough right at the very beginning? It was my Baffy files that brought my handler, Michael Curtis, there to Delphi.
So
and I've had people laugh at me, make fun of me. When I've told the truth, I was let go for going to other agencies, DEA, Department of Justice, Homeland Security, for trying to save lives.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple questions just so I can be clear. So was Michael Curtis part of the terrorism task force, the FBI terrorism task force, along with like Ferenczi and Murphy?
Yes.
Okay, and so the original investigation, according to what your history with it, is that there was militia training on Ron Logan's property that Ron Logan was a part of or not a part of?
He was allowing it to happen on his property, like them shooting kind of, how would you put it? Like it was from the 10th to the 12th. The reason they went back up there the 13th was to actually follow up on addresses on individuals that were sitting in my FBI informant files, like Brad, his militia groups like Jeff Brackett, and others that go back. And I can still to this day show where like Damian Swoke, friends of Brad Holder's, I've still got every single one of his friends list. And I can show you back to each and every single one of those, going back to Gabe, his drug ring.
Yeah.
Gabe Ellis, Tyler French, Megan Callis, not Callis, but Megan Rodell, her boyfriend, Kygan. That's where Keegan and his family have been trying to get Kygan Callis. That's how you say Kygan Callis, Megan's boyfriend. But I've got conversations where me and this FBI handler of mine seen where Tina Rodell was saying her daughter, her boyfriend, the drug ring that they were cooking meth right there under the bridge.
Yes.
He knew they were already involved in Karina McClurkin's case that I became a FBI informant. I was already an informant.
You were
but I turned into a federal witness for.
Okay, so wait. So you were an informant prior to Karina's case.
Yes.
Okay.
And how I became an
Daffy,
informant,
I've got a
everybody's been
question
asking
for
me,
you.
did I get in trouble? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got a question. Okay, so if anybody who, like, I lived in Terre Haute when Ferenczi was killed, and I had actually had a really bad incident happen where I was working and I was manager at the time, and he was one of the detectives on the case. So I had some conversations with him concerning that. But once he was killed, and I know the story that they put out to the media, why it happened and who did it and stuff. But do you think that any of what was going on with you and maybe even Delphi had anything to do with his murder?
The 4 badges that lives were lost: Greg Ferenczi, Robert Pitts, a Terre Haute Police Department officer that was killed in the line of duty, Deputy
I remember
Pickett
that
out
too.
of Boone County, and Deputy Carl Kuntz out of Howard County. If you look up each and every single one of their killers and find their social media, that network, that criminal network,
Yeah.
Gabe Ellis, not Richard, but Ricardo Espinoza, another dealer in that raid. I've had individuals in and around that drug ring stalking my Facebook, my YouTube, like Tyler French. Here recently, he's made a email to me. He knows where I live and he plans to see me here soon. It's not because I'm some creator bringing up names and like him that was sitting in my FBI informant files. He plans to come and kill me. Just like the drug ring, the ties, if I keep talking, I'll be the next one missing and killed. I don't need to pack my bags where I'm going.
A lot of people don't realize that Greg Ferenczi's killer had just ran for Terre Haute mayor. And prior to that, he worked for the prison system.
And if you look up Greg Ferenczi's, his killer, find his social media page. Look at his friends list. One thing you're going to find left and right goes back to Kokomo and this cartel drug ring.
Yeah, they were trying to say that Greg was having an affair with Shane's girlfriend or whatever, and that's what led to it. I'm like, well, that's awfully funny because the man just ran for mayor, and prior to that,
I've already
he worked for the
documented
prisons.
that.
And
like,
what have we discovered
screenshot
about
all
the
that.
prisons in Indiana?
So I can bring that up to T and show her exactly what I'm saying. Every single one of these badges, they're killers, go back to that same cartel drug ring that goes and operates right there in Kokomo and like Terre Haute, Allen County. I can show individuals like one that's working for the prosecutor's office in Allen County, going back to the dealers and drug ring individuals in that same drug ring. They're sitting friends with ones right there working for the prosecutor's office in Allen County. I've got where I can show you where dealers in that federal raid was sitting friends with the sitting mayor, Greg Goodnight. Other politicians like the head county commissioner, Paul Wyman, he actually spoke at Blaine Nelson's funeral highly, like he knew him for years. He didn't just know dealers like Blaine, who I actually got texts out of Blaine. He was there the night Karina McClurkin lost her life. He had no control of what was going on, but yes, he was in fact there.
Okay, so I just want to slow down for just a minute because I think that you have a lot of insight with a lot of information and a lot of names that becomes very overwhelming for people who don't.
One thing I need help, and I'm going to be honest with you, I need help. The network analysis, the names, making it easier for people to understand. I need help with making the network analysis. I've got all the names, the friends list off their social medias. I've got all that documented. Thousands of screenshots. I've got that held right now, like Elijah Cook. Are you able to look up Facebook real quick?
I won't pull up Facebook on here just because I try not to.
Well, if you can, Elijah Cook right there. If you pull his page up, or Kyle Stacy's, you're going to see 18 days after the girl's murder, you're going to see them parading the exact Bowie knife with serrated blade and a ceremonial sword. with the girls'
Okay.
blood still on it. 18 days after their deaths, they were parading those around on social media. The same names you're seeing right here and more. They were parading those around. And then
Okay.
Kyle Stacey, his post, he was reliving it. And when Alan got picked up in October, he actually shared the Light It Up for Abby and Libby, that post the family was doing, showing why not only to look to them, the book they used to make their kindred, the Sons of Odin. That name was in that book of Troth by this Edmund guy. They were parading that around and reliving it years after the girl's case. Every single year, every February 16th, they were reliving it.
Okay.
Not
So
just that, but they were showing the murder weapons.
I think that the biggest issue we're having currently, just because you have so much detailed info that we don't know exactly what ties to what. So you do need some help putting that all together and putting it in a format that actually can be like put out, because like right now, like you're talking and I understand parts of what you're saying only because I know so much about these certain people, but you have
Well,
other
you're
layers.
losing me.
You have a
Yeah,
nexus in your head.
I'm not there. I'm
I
not
see your
there.
nexus, but it can't see your nexus, if that makes sense.
Right. So we need to figure
Yeah.
that out. And so that way
So
you can
Steve-
present
I need
it.
help. I've
Yeah.
even offered, like, I need help somebody to sit down with me. I've got right now where like a Google, not Google, but the Microsoft 365, I've got the family where I can add up to 5 people and I can upload every single screenshot, the Facebook, the social media network analysis, going back to that criminal network analysis.
Okay.
I just need help getting it to where the screens, like the like PowerPoint slides, will make sense. Then not only just showing all that, but showing the network analysis from the criminal network to the
Okay.
social media network analysis that are showing. And what's sick is if I can get help right now, a serial killer, a dealer turned serial killer. Look up Nico Washington out of Richmond, Indiana. That's what his name is on Facebook. Document all his friends list. That's the dealer turned serial killer like Garrett Kurtz that killed Christina Dixon and Matthew Johnson.
Okay. So do you have
Victim number
Phoenix,
76 and 77. Another dealer turned serial killer.
Michael, hold on. Phoenix is offering to help you, but he says you have him blocked. Do you have him blocked?
I was also going to say, T, since I have your email, I'm pretty tapped into data and how to like quickly use some programs that kind of do it for you. So it really takes it off your hands. So I'll send you.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bring up names, but I had an individual last night claim he's done hours and hours and hundreds of hours of work, claiming my work as his own on a live last night. And then he's going to hurry up and try to expose Tina when I've got the original text where she's saying her daughter killed one of the girls, stabbed one of the girls to know what it felt like.
So
where she's talking about the muddy and blood, the blood covering stairwell in the basement. And when I asked whose blood, she actually told me, enriched the Delphi girls. There was baking soda and peroxide, boxes of enriched. She's admitting that was already pre-planned and already there. So when they came back, muddy and bloody, the 13th, all this is enriched from Tina. And then where she changed from, they were making meth under the bridge, and she names, and down to look up Scott K. Alice, Keegan's family.
Yeah.
Keegan's family lived right there next to the bridge.
So T,
But
why don't I do this? So what I can do to help, I'm getting ready to go out of town. But why don't I email you some easy resources that use some AI and some not, that can gather all this data and like put it in 20 different ways to look at it. And then whoever has some time for you guys to kind of drag and pull, it's literally that easy. It's a lot of dragging and pulling and making your connectors. And it really should be pretty quick if somebody has a couple hours, and that way you have it. And that none of
Because,
those
like I said, I've got the Microsoft 365 family where I can add up to 6 people and multiple
You're
devices.
welcome. You want to put all your
I've got that
screenshots
right
in
now.
there? Yeah, add me to it. Add me to it. I'll help try to go through and organize it the best I can.
Yeah.
So for people in chat, because I know that people, this is why I'm saying it becomes overwhelming. People in chat are like, how does this connect? Well, the thing is all of these people are connected in the background through the years. So
The Kyle Stacy, the FBI handler I had, Michael Curtis, knew about Kyle Stacy, Gabe Ellis, and all of them involved in Krinas, but he refused to act.
Okay. Okay. So I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with Kyle. I don't
It
know that
just makes me sick where Kyle and his friends were parading around the murder weapons with the girl's blood on it like trophies.
Okay, so All Eyes on Delphi, who is way more even organized than me, she's like sleuthy level over there. She's also offering to help, but after trial, she wants to make sure that she'll help put everything together and after trial. So I can get you her email. I can get you Phoenix's email.
I've got a federal lawyer right now. Before the Delphi case even starts, you're going to see multiple federal lawsuits hit before Delphi trial even starts. And what that agent knew, he allowed Delphi to happen. Among other cases, if he acted on Karina's case, instead of letting me become a victim by this ring myself, I had to get a protective order while being an active FBI informant turned federal witness. I had to get a protective order on a suspect that was involved on Karina's and then helped on Delphi. Things got worse, way worse, to the point I lost my apartment because of her and her friends making my life a living, breathing hell. 10 times worse after Delphi. It got worse. The ones that were wanting me dead, I have a 911 call where I was getting surrounded over 14 cars, every one of them packed with people armed, surrounding the place I was living with my ex. I've got her testimony. I've got her on video explaining everything they seen upstairs. And I've still got the 911 call where I was telling them, if they make entry, you don't have enough body bags, you don't have enough cold storage. You better get here, or I will take it in my own hands, and you will not have enough cold storage. Within 2 seconds after me saying that, I was armed, and if they make entry, KPD showed up. But then when they actually, I will show you one of the first things to make it a whole lot easier. Where there's federal raids in 2018, you've got captains like Kevin Summers and other elected officials like Paul Wyman, Greg Goodnight, sitting friends with multiple of these federally rated dealers in a cartel drug ring.
Okay, well that's why I said you do have a lot of good information. I think that the struggle is the connection, so people get lost. Even though you do have the info, people can't follow it. So I think that we need to be able to put that or help you put that together so that it actually can come out in a way that people understand.
But yeah, after what Robin did last night, trying to say that he's begging me for everything I have on Megan and Tina, he's trying to say that it's all been his work and he's trying to profit off of what's about to cost me my life. I've got Alan Tinker that just got out of prison promising he can't wait to meet me. He just got out of prison for killing an individual. The roommate, the one he killed, was a known suspect to my handler. He forced on me. The one that he had helped him set up the murder of his roommate, the FBI informant, me, was letting this know to my handler. He allowed a suspect, just like he did in Delphi, Florida. He could have prevented cases like Jeremy Patterson.
Right. Okay. So
but when this ring was tipped off, like Alan,
Michael, because like I said, I
they
know
allowed
that
deaths.
you have a ton of good info, but there's no tie to anything. So I want to bring it back to when you came on. There was a couple things that you had stated, and then I want to stick with a straight line there so that it stays with the topic that we were kind of talking about.
And see, nobody's been offering, like, Prop is wanting to say, oh, this is all his work. Nobody's been offering to try to slow me down and actually get me to back up and kind of go over things to
That's
make
what
it
we
a
need.
lot more make sense
Well,
to
it
you
sounds like
and everybody else.
Yeah, it sounds like we may have enough people to help you do that. And I can see why you're frustrated, but I know T wants to make sure we give credit to your stuff so some of us can help you in the background so then she can keep moving forward.
Because I'm not going to lie to you right now. I've got killers knowing where I live and openly saying, we're going to meet you here soon.
Yeah, I think
If they
that
make it to me and before I can get all this seen, they kill me. It keeps them from going federally, getting acted on.
I think that I agree with Teresa that you have a lot of information. I think it will be more impactful for people when it's like easier to digest. Like
Mhm.
I'm just speaking for me. Like I don't know a lot of the names that you've been saying. And so it's really difficult for me to track like what you're
And
saying.
one person that's willing to help me and I can trust with my life, I'll show you the who, what, when, where, and why. That had my handler, Michael Curtis, there in Delphi.
Well, and you have a
I've
lawyer
got
too,
the hard
right?
copies of the full investigation down to who, what, when, where, and why that had them in Delphi. I've got the texts, the emails.
All right, we just need to be able to put it into a more cohesive delivery. And like I said, I have a surface of all the people that you're talking about. I know the general, but you have years of info. But can we go back?
And I was let go for trying to save lives, like the Delphi girls, Flora. I was let go for going to other agencies begging for them to look where my handler refused to. And it cost multiple kids' lives. And that's what makes me sick.
Teresa,
These
what was the
kids
couple things that you wanted to
in that
ask
troubled
about?
community, their lives could have been prevented being lost if they would have acted on what they had an informant turned witness allowed to become a victim was telling them who and why to look at them. And then those same killers bragging about it, boasting about it, reliving it, showing the murder weapons days after the girls were killed with their blood still on it, parading it around like trophies.
I can see exactly. I can feel your energy through the screen. I know right now T wants to bring something back and that way she can finish that up. So then I can get off now and I'm going to start emailing you some of those resources. So then you guys can put something together. So bye everybody.
Kraken, thank you so much for coming up. I adore you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be back on to watch.
But yeah, see anybody, if you got questions, have at it. If you can slow me down and I'll back up and answer your questions, I'm all ears and I'm open book.
Here's my question. I want to first. I have a couple birthdays in the chat that I need to address. So give me a second because it's True Grit Crime's birthday. And it's also
Happy
Laura's
birthday!
So happy birthday, ladies! That is amazing. My you know, I don't know. I think you end up being. Are you a Libra then on this day? Are you on the cusp? I don't know if you're a Virgo because you guys know I'm a Virgo. But happy birthday, ladies! Thank you guys for being here on your birthday. But Michael, you had when you came on, you had made a statement about that your handler, Michael Curtis, was working with the terrorism task force. And that task force was looking into the militia that was on Ron Logan's property.
Yes, ma'am. And they were actually doing in-person surveillance right there on Ron Logan's property.
Okay, hold on just a second. So how long, let me ask you some questions so that we can I can try to get it as clear as I can.
That was between February 10th and 12th is when they were on in-person surveillance.
But how long had they been looking at this militia that you're aware
of? The militia-wise, I've got friends of like Tony Slocum, like a Frank Castiello. Look up the Bundy Ranch standoffs, the federally armed standoffs. I've got years they were looking into militia groups, and I was actually a high-ranking state and national ranking officer. So I had Brad Holders and every member from Indiana to every state that American patriots, 3%. If you look up, I'll post it on my community wall. There's a tattoo Brad did on Amber Holder, her back, that I with the percent sign. It is, we are the 3%. That tattoo needs to go into evidence. And that will offer the defense to bring up the whole fact of the FBI knowing about suspects like Brad. He said not just months, but years as a domestic terrorism threat to life, along with other ones like Jeff Brackett out of Kokomo, Kim Thomas out of Boone County. Look up a case like it's Bruce Dockett, sovereign citizen judge, getting 38 years for threatening a judge. That was my case that got him 38 years. Those are just some of the cases that I'm showing. I've got a long history getting people behind bars and off the streets, no longer a threat. But
Well,
yeah, I was let
this
go.
is why you're going to be a target, though, is when these people are getting out of prison. So you need to take care of that. But okay, I see that this is, no matter, your brain keeps going down those holes. Like you can't, like you just want to stay.
And it's not just holes. I've got documents in my FBI files and the hard copies that back me up. It's not just me saying it or just to say it. I've got documentation between me and my handler back to even 2016, right after Karina's case.
I have people in my DMs.
And to answer your question, the investigation that they were there in Delphi on, it started days after Karina McClurkin's case. That's when that investigation started, and they got enough intel where they got approved in-person surveillance starting February 10th, ending the 12th. They left 24 hours before Delphi. What in-person surveillance? Watching Ron Logan's property? What are they withholding? Why are they hiding it? But I've got the hard copies. They cannot delete. They can omit, get rid of. I've got the hard copies. The full investigation, the months before Delphi, on what had them there in Delphi. And I've met with Matthew, EMSI. I've got the Dropbox still with the private investigator with Andrew and Brad. I've actually met Andrew at the Noblesville defense team, their office right there in Noblesville, right down from the court office back in 2023. They've known this, and I've got one thing I'm going to bring up is Todd Click. I've got the messages, the emails, the texts, the recorded calls with me and Todd Click. He only, just like the defense, only wanted to look at Brad Holder. Everything I had, the hard copies between me and that agent, he only wanted everything I had on Brad Holder and nobody else. It's the same thing the defense did. And it made me sick when I got the hard copies down to admission from the underage girlfriend. One thing I'm going to bring up, and I've got Sierra Daly, the underage girl he was on the run with, no alibi, how he started exploiting Sierra Daly, Karina's cousin, with panties. He had a panty fetish with underage girls. The same thing, what's missing now in the Delphi case? Panties.
Yes.
I've got Sierra Daly and Karina's family, both sides, explaining on how he started exploiting Sierra. Then I've got Sierra, Crystal Daly, her cousin, where I was grilling her, and I asked her, did Sierra go with Gabe Ellis in that drug ring when they went and did Delphi? And her response was, I don't think she was. But I want you to keep in mind, I've got where this same family, the Karina's mom's side of the family, the same family that used her as a drug mule, I've got Jerry McClurkin and others where they're openly talking about that. Along with, when I say there's two individuals, the state ISP and locals are railroading to make sure they take that fall and these others in that drug ring are not hit, I'm not just saying that. I can back myself up. There was a third missing and murder case tied to Delphi, Detective Hammond, Mullins. I've got texts, the emails between me and them. Well, they opened Karina McClurkin's case there in Carroll County, tied to Delphi. Same suspects.
Okay.
They opened a case in Karina's there in Carroll County.
Okay, so we need to get your info in an organized format so we can go through one section at a time, and then you can talk to us about how it actually connects to the other part. Because I think we're just, so many people just have no idea where we're at this point, but you have all these connected in your brain, so we need to get them connected in a format that we can present.
And I just don't want people profiting off of like Prof trying to say, "Oh, this is my information. I took me hundreds of hours and days after days." When he's using what I'm saying, what I've been showing, down to, like I said, Tina admitting that her daughter stabbed one of the girls to know what it felt like. I've got that original text. That agent over me knew.
I'll say one thing about Michael mentioned. The FBI had the Abby and Libby tip line call me and ask for some information. And when they called me, what they asked for was information about Brad Holder.
That's all.
Which I do think is
the investigative team. That's all they cared about. All they wanted.
It's interesting.
And that's all they wanted, correct? I've got texts, recorded calls with Todd Click. That's all he wanted was Brad Holder. Nobody else.
Yeah, it was weird because the information I had was actually information more related to Richard Allen. But
and other people, but they only wanted who they wanted, and that's it.
Oh, you've got information about Brad Holder. Like, holy, what? Okay.
You mentioned Brad Holder. It's like all they wanted to hear. Nothing else. Nobody else. No more information, no matter how imperative and how
I'll give you that.
That is.
Weird thing.
And I'm going to be honest with you. Kathy Allen, her friends list, anybody that's got her full friends list, I've got the screenshots. There's friends that go back, like a Brooke Ball out of Kokomo. There's an Anthony Nuggerball out of Delphi. He's friends with Tara German and others. But I want you guys yourself to open mind.
Bones, yeah.
Other ones like Garrett Kurtz admitting that he killed Nicole Bowen to protect that drug ring. They're sitting friends with Derek and the rest of them, the family, but there's nothing to see there. When you got Anna Williams, I've got the full text with her where she's admitting that she actually was family friends with the Garths. She just did work for her grandmother. But I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes to Kathy Allen, she's friends with individuals that go back to Gabe Ellis and that drug ring. And they're trying to say, there's no connections. They don't know anything about the Odinism or the drug ring. Her friends tell a different story. You see, I'm trying to be unbiased. I'm not trying to be on the left, the pro-prosecution, pro-defense. I'm trying to tell the truth. Her friends list tell a different story on where they go back to and what drug ring they go back to, left and right. And that's being honest with you guys. I've been accused of being pro this, pro that. But when I'm saying Kathy Allen, her friends list, if anybody else got the full friends list, I've got it in one of my SD cards. But I show you each and every single friend, what ones go back to what drug ring. And it helps when I've got individuals like Ricardo Espinoza, Jamie Reed, Tyler French, stalking my profiles, like my Facebook, adding me, stalking my every word. If I was not speaking the truth, then why do I have individuals like Tyler, Allen, wanting to come visit me to kill me? I've actually got threats. If I keep talking, I'll be the next one missing and killed. I don't need to pack my bags where I am going.
So we should make sure we get
if
those.
If I wasn't speaking the truth, then why do they want me dead?
So you have a video on your channel, and I don't remember which one it is, but before we move off the Kokomo stuff, I want to ask you what video is it that you have? Because I know that Matt Sullivan used to have one. I don't know if he still does, but
Matt Sullivan, I'm gonna tell you something about him.
I don't want to
Him
know anything
trying
about
to pry information out of me as, he's a private investigator, I should trust him. Tell me everything. Everything he made his page,
yep,
it came from me.
Stop. Just tell me what video. I know it's okay on your channel.
It's the only one I've got open right now. The 2018 interview with Indiana State Trooper.
Okay. It's on videos.
The interview with Indiana State Trooper Charles Chuck Myers out of Miami County Post and Detective Benzinger out of Kokomo.
Okay, where's the
I've
one
got them laughing, making excuses,
okay,
and saying that their money and manpower, they were underfunded, and then they were making excuses why cases, 40 child exploitation cases, including in 2018, Liberty German was on one of the 40. Why they were saying they did not want that federal help, even though they were underpowered, one detective, one case at a time. And there was over 40 child exploitation cases sitting cold on their desk. When they're laughing about it, making excuses, and it's not a federal issue, child exploitation of children, that's a federal issue, correct?
Right, but you had a video where you compared Gabe Ellis's voice to Bridge Guy. Did you not have a video like that?
Yeah. And with what Prop was trying to do last night, I've got them kind of down, remembers.
I just want to know where that video is so so that the chat can understand why I care anything about what you're talking about and how it actually plays into.
If you give me 2 seconds, I'm gonna have to minimize this real quick and I can open it back up. And
okay. I want to play that for them because I think that they'll understand why.
If you give me a second, I'm gonna hop off. I'm gonna put it back on my community wall post.
Okay.
And it's gonna be my latest community wall post. I'm gonna come back on, okay?
Okay. All right. So
I'll be right back.
Okay. That's his channel. I just dropped it in the chat. It's Hunting Evil.
But what's one saying they're gonna expose everything I've said and what's about to cost me my life. I put it down to members only, like my highest member only. But I'm thinking about, you know what? I'm not going to allow them to make profit off of what's about to cost me my life. I'm thinking about opening everything back up to public. You know what? I closed it down last night after him getting money and saying it's his work, everything he's done. So I kind of closed everything down last night thinking, you know what? I'm just going to close everything down. But you know what? I'm not going to allow people like that to make profit off what's about to cost me my life. So I'm opening everything back up. But give me a second. I'm going to put that back up.
Yeah, let's just get your information organized so that it makes sense on why people should
listen. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to hop off real quick and throw that. That's going to be my latest community wall post.
Perfect. And then we're gonna keep going with.
I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
I'd like to make a point just in general about the true crime community, well, at least the Delphi community, and this comes up a whole lot of, I saw this screenshot and this means this and this and this, and like, sometimes it's stuff, sometimes it's, it's stuff about Richard Allen, or sometimes it's stuff about third party people, like, and people present these things as to be convincing to other people. And I think you really got to think about like this sort of like providing these sorts of things as quote unquote evidence, because these are not, like, you have to imagine, is this something that they would put in front of a jury, like in a trial? Most of the time the answer is going to be absolutely not. Like, you're crazy if you think they're just going to pull up this very ambiguous like screenshot that says, oh, he said he was cleared, from a YouTube comment, and like it doesn't refer to anything. Like, there's no investigation behind it. There's nothing. Like, that's all there is. Like, that's not evidence of anything. That's like maybe it's a tip lead of some sort, but like you're not going to get anywhere just on that. And I think people like jump way too far off of some of the stuff that they see online, because that is not actual evidence. That is not something that they would put in front of a jury because it is not convincing. They would be bad prosecutors or bad defenders to put forth that type of information, because it's
Right.
it's not going to convince anybody of anything. Like, what does it mean?
I'd be surprised they even let it in as evidence to begin with. Whether an attorney would even try would be a whole nother. That would be a ridiculous ballgame.
You can't put social media, and you can put text messages, you can put screen, that sort of stuff. But like,
and I want you guys to pay attention to the
more behind it.
Down demand.
Okay, can you guys hear it? Number one. I just need to make sure. Can you guys hear it on the panel? Because if you guys can hear it, they can hear it. Okay. So, like I said, the biggest thing for me is about Gabe Ellis has always been the sound of his voice. And I have not watched this video, but I know that the ones I have listened to sounds very, very similar. It's actually the closest match, in my opinion. And this crew of people have played a role on social media, for speculation for many, many years.
Before you play, can I say something?
Yep, go ahead.
I want you guys to pay real close attention to his down when he's telling his dog, and this is on Heather Ferris. If you look up the raid in Prince William Road and 100 South, Heather Ferris was the one manufacturing meth. It was right next to where Toby Garth worked as a main manager of. The same location where Derek German stole the ammonia from with Dustin Prater. Dustin Prater such friends with Tyler Joe French, Gabe Ellis, all them. They all dealt and were supplied. Like Prop is trying to say it was Derek supplying everybody else. It was the other way around. And then Blaine McClellan, the same date on September 2014, when Derek German was picked up with his girlfriend at the time, Blaine McClellan was picked up the same time with his girlfriend. All four of them picked up at the same time. 2014, they were dealing, and they were supplied by Gabe Ellis, Kyle Stacy, and that cartel drug ring right there in Kokomo. But one thing I'm going to say about this, in the middle of this, I accidentally put, I'm only a police officer. I accidentally put that in, but pay close attention to the demand down in the raspy voice. And I want you guys to keep it in mind. His underage girlfriend, the same one that they let a boyfriend know that Karina was dead 48 hours missing, and there was continuing making up stories. Their same family. When I asked, did Sierra Ellis deal with Gabe Ellis and his drug ring when they went and did Delphi? I don't think she was. So they knew where she was. And then Tina Riddell was letting it know where they were coming back, muddy and bloody, to Gabe Ellis's daughter's apartment. Then she was trying to act like she had no clue who she was. But oh my God, why did they redo that apartment? It was beautiful. But I'm going to let you go ahead and play this. I just wanted to let that be known. So there is an admission that, yes, he and his drug ring went and did Delphi, but I don't think my cousin went with him. That admission's been out, and that FBI agent, Michael Curtis, has known about that well before Delphi even happened.
Okay. So let me play. So you're saying that there's something in here that just shouldn't be in here? You should probably take that out. Just
no, it's all it is that officer that's with Charles Chuck Myers, the detective out of Miami County Post. I accidentally put, and it's Detective Benzinger out of Kokomo. Okay. Give me a second. I'm trying to get back in my chair. Whoa.
Okay, I'm gonna play it.
My lights on.
Play it real quick, so then I can tell them what they're listening to. Because like I said, I haven't heard this.
Why not? Be quiet. I want you to be quiet. I am a police. Why not? Be quiet. I want you to be quiet.
It's gonna probably replay. It's only like 30 seconds long.
Okay. So the I want you to be quiet is Gabe Ellis, and then obviously the down the hill is the down the hill.
And then he actually told us, I want you to lay down and be quiet. He was giving his dog a demand down.
Okay. Let me see if I can find the other one. Yeah, that one does not sound nearly the same to me as the other one did. Hold on.
I had to redo it, but the Fight for Justice one, that's where I had it originally, and it was on SoundCloud. It was in a better quality. I can actually send that one to you. I got to find it on SoundCloud, but it sounded a whole lot better because I actually had a speaker when I was recording it, but it sounds a whole lot better on SoundCloud.
Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can find this other one real quick before we move on from this. But like I said, I think
Give me
that
2 seconds. That's still up. I'm going to look up SoundCloud real quick.
Okay. Fiend, Sleuth Thief, you
Give
guys
me
have
2
any?
seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got you guys minimized for a second. I'm the original SoundCloud.
This other video. Thank you, R&M. I'm gonna pull up this other video real quick because
Can we drop a link to Michael's SoundCloud?
If he wants to, yeah.
That's one thing I'm going to. I got to find my SoundCloud. It says I need to do an update real quick. Why am I looking the hard way? I'm looking up. I'm just going to look it up on.
Why not? Be quiet. I want you to be quiet.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see this one.
Baba Yaga, the boogeyman. That's what they call him. Only this isn't from some.
This might be something different. Is it in this one? Hold on, let me come back to you guys real quick so I can see.
From John Wick movie. To us Delphi group members, this man is evil incarnate, the target of my life's current work. On February 13th, 2017, Liberty German, 14, and her best friend.
Give me a second. I'm going to hop off here real quick, and I'm going to be right back on.
The Monenheim Bridge Trail in Delphi, Indiana.
Where am I?
Yeah. Locals and law enforcement were stunned, as was the world.
Gotcha. Okay,
Police were extremely tight-lipped at first, releasing an image.
Okay, you might be able to find it.
Taken from the victim.
There it is.
Why not? Be quiet. I want you to be quiet.
See the down part right there.
No, this isn't the same one.
I've re-recorded it a couple times, but I'm gonna. I can use like a speaker and get it a whole lot clearer, and re-record it via that way.
Okay.
Because I've got the original, like you said, it's a whole lot clearer. And when he gives his dog the demand, I want you to lay down and be quiet. And then, like that part, I'm like, it gives me, I don't know if you can tell right now, like I've got goosebumps, like hair standing when I'm hearing him tell the girls to get down the hill. And I want you guys to really think, use your heads. Why was most of the brutality done to Liberty German if it was not revenge? If it was to kill both the girls, the brutality would have been the same. Why was it only towards Liberty? And why are dealers like Blaine McClellan, dealer partners with her dad, doing on a 14-year-old girl's friends list on Facebook? You can still find that. Look through her friends list and take the time. On my case, then their the criminal network, their criminal history. And it's the same thing like Galen Rose. I'm not trying to talk bad about families, but why are witnesses on a lawsuit, every single one of them, including one that was a convicted murderer that got paid $20? Her and her husband was the last two that left that back door right before that fire started in Florida. And they're getting supplied by Christy Lynn Martin. He was sitting with elected officials like county council over there in Florida, firefighters like this Anthony, I believe it's Thomas on Florida Fire Department. What are they doing with known dealers under Gabe? And I've got Tina where she actually admitted where her sister, Christy Lynn Martin, Megan's aunt, took the charges when Gabe tried to, well, not Gabe, but when Derek tried rolling on Gabe, Christy Lynn Martin took the charges that allowed Gabe Ellis to stay out, but her sister took the charges where he could stay out. I'm like, it just blows my mind where this agent knew all this, and I was let go for going to other agencies, his own words. And those agencies were DEA, DOJ, Department of Justice, and the Homeland Security. That's the agencies I went to when I was saying he allowed me, an FBI informant, turned federal witness in Karina's case, allowed to become a victim, had to get a protective order while actively both those, and became a victim myself of these same individuals that went on to kill little kids. And if he would have acted on Karina's case, those two little girls, Flora, those 4 little girls, among 20 other children, all within that troubled community, their lives were taken. And it wasn't them being around the drugs, bringing the drugs around them dealing. It was what it was being brought around and was being done around these babies. But nobody wants to talk about that. And if you do, oh my God, you're attacking the families. What, for saying the truth? They have our girls. The reasoning, why the brutality on one girl, not the other? Even the FBI knew, and they're trying to cover up and hide it. And I'm going to be honest with you. If individuals turn from informants to witnesses and making these cases for the state and local drug task force, they know about this. And if it's a retaliation for them becoming a informant and witness and them making these cases against these said individuals, it's the whole major fact. Just like the 2 informants that were just killed by a dealer turned serial killer, they made these cases and allowed these victims, their witnesses that made these cases, the retaliation to happen. And you wonder why Derek and the rest of them, they're scared shitless, excuse my language. And if it wasn't for the death threats of these dealers turned serial killers coming after me, I was let go for trying to protect and save lives. And that agent, the first agent that was involved in Delphi, it was a case he could have prevented those 2 little babies from being killed if he acted in Karina's case on suspects that he knew. And even 96 days after Jeremy Patterson, he was murdered just like Nicole Bowen. It wasn't for the drugs. It was to protect the dealers turned killers. The intel they had, like I said, Kevin Summers and other individuals leaking this back to this drug ring on who was going to roll and what they had and what they were going to roll on, is why individuals like Nicole Bowen, Jeremy Patterson, they lost their lives to protect this drug ring by the dealers turned killers. And there's over 8 killers where you got Derek, Anna, and I've got a recorded conversation with Liggett threatening me. The same Liggett that you have the school resource officer, Richard Allen Ferguson, talking about he knew and he had interactions with the 2 out of 3 cartel drug houses right there in Delphi. And when he's asked the corruption on what's allowing this, where to look, any elected official, the same elected officials he's calling corrupt, he's sitting friends with, like Hammond, Mullins, other elected officials right there in Kokomo. He's calling corrupt. And why? Like, I'll send you those. Like the school resource officer, Richard Allen Ferguson, he was a retired KPD officer. And the only reason he took that job, it was for the money. It wasn't for the girls or the kids. It was a lucrative payout to take the job. He knew about that cartel ring, just like the families do. When they're sitting friends with multiple killers, including a serial killer who killed to protect that ring, and we're not supposed to look, even question, do they know the killers? Do they know why the girls died? The 4 girls? Anytime you bring that up, anybody's going to shut you up. Oh my God, don't you dare say that. You're going to attack the families. It's not attacking anybody, but speaking the truth. Do they know why they were killed? The revenge? The retaliation? And if they did, the same ones that made the cases at the Drug Task Force, those detectives, Indiana State Police, locals, if they knew, and they could have prevented it, if they would have acted, and instead of allowing the retaliation, over 20 children, all within the troubled community, and 77 cases across Indiana, all are in areas of operation of this drug ring. And each and every single one of these, the dealers turn killers, just like the 4 batches. If you follow each and every single one of their killers, they go back to what drug ring and names that go back in around Derek, Dustin, other dealers like Gabrielos. It's the same drug ring, the same network analysis you can find to this day, openly showing. And it's getting right there in Liberty German's friends list.
Yeah,
what
there's
are dealers?
There's so much, Michael. There's so much that you have that we've got to get it into organized, because I think that we lose people because they don't know who you're talking about or how they're connected. So we've got to.
I can't see the chat. I'm not trying to attack the families. I'm just saying, if the drugs and the retaliation, if they knew it, and the drug task force, the ones that made the cases against these said individuals, and if they knew it was retaliation,
right?
It don't look good. It's not camera friendly. It doesn't allow donations to keep coming in if the truth comes out. They were killed over money and drugs and actions, not the kids, but the ones that were bringing this meth, these dealers around these babies.
Right, which I
that's
think
what
that,
makes me sick.
That people need to know the information you have. I'm gonna be very honest. You don't connect it when you're telling the story, but I know that you have the info, so we need to get it clear. But for now, I want to move back over to where we were at before, and I would love if you want to add me to your Microsoft thing. I'd be happy to take a look at it. Sleuthy is a major organization freak, way beyond me.
Like, I'm hoping to God, it took me 4 months to hit over the 100 mark, and I'm hoping to God, if I don't have I've got out of my disability, I've got maybe, I think, $9 in my bank account holding it open, and it's $10 for the that. So I'm hoping to God by tonight, before the 27th, I might have to drop it down to where it's only like 2 people.
Just start sending me things in batches. Just make sure that it has to do with the same thing. So if you send me stuff, send it to me in a batch that has to do with a particular event instead of just everything at once, so that we can organize it and figure it out. Because I do think your information is important. I think that it connects, but I don't think
there's one that just made a comment, and I'm going to be honest with you. When I've got sex workers like Jessica James Plunkett trying to show me tits that go back to this drug ring.
We don't need to go into that. We don't need to go into that.
I'm not trying to go into it, but when I had somebody that just made a comment, tried to do the same thing, that members of that drug ring, like Jessica JoJo Plunkett, tried doing the same thing to pry information out of me.
I'm not
calling out names, but it makes me sick.
So just FYI, we'll get it. We'll put it together.
I'm not saying names. I'm being nice. I'm being courteous. I know it's your channel.
Right.
But somebody that just made a comment I've seen, they make me sick. They're no better than the ones that were trying to pry information out of me.
Can we get Michael's Venmo in the chat? We want to send him $1.
Do you have a Venmo?
Or $10?
I don't have PayPal. It's Hunting Evil Fight.
Okay, so if you guys would like to send him anything to help with the $10 goal, it's, what is it?
Hunting Evil Fight. It's all capitalized, but that's on my PayPal. It's Hunting Evil Fight.
Okay, at PayPal. So anybody who wants to do that, we'll work on putting something together
because I can download, like I can in the cloud, I can move everything I've got, like the and people that have been trying to pry it out of me. I can add up to about 5 people, and I think it's up to 6 devices. I can add people to that Microsoft 365.
We just need to put it in a format that makes sense and actually connects to what we're here.
And one thing I do want to say, it's going to make not a lot of sense, but I want to document every single dealer and every single raid, going from the criminal network analysis, then the ones that went on and have a social media like Facebook. How I know some of these, they end up adding me and stalking my every word on Facebook when I was using Facebook to speak out, to get heard, to get eyes and ears going in the right direction before I ever went on and made Fight for Justice YouTube, or until I made Hunting Evil. I actually had Fight for Justice, and then I was using Facebook. And I've got dealers like Jamie Reed, Ricardo Espinoza, other dealers like him adding me and stalking me. And then threats from that drug ring. If I keep talking, I'll be the next one missing and killed. Why do they want me dead if I'm not speaking the truth? And I got people like Alan Tinker, like this just last week. I'll send that like in a text to you guys, where he just said, "I can't wait to meet you." And all I said was, in return, well, no sooner you do, you'll be meeting bullets soon. Okay. And it wasn't me trying to be a badass or anything like that. It was me saying, if you plan to see me on killing me, I'm not going to be like the one you were helped with FBI suspects that they knew about 96 days after Delphi. The reason they killed Jeremy was because Alan Tinker and Gabe Ellis was involved in Karina and Delphi.
Right. We have to go on from we have to go back to Delphi itself. So
yes,
once again, I will absolutely help you to organize your info. I know that a lot of people here have volunteered to help. All I said, she'll help after the trial. We'll get it figured out. Well, get it in a cohesive.
Well, why after the trial? Because you got a living federal victim.
Because she's busy.
I have the power right now. There needs to be a federal special prosecutor. When the agent knew intel and suspects that were involved and allowed Delphi to happen, there needs to be a special federal prosecutor taking over Delphi, Karina. There's about 35 cases in that local area, including the 4 badges I talked about. All their killers go back to that same drug ring. And this agent, Michael Curtis, this first agent from the FBI that got involved in Delphi, he allowed Delphi to happen. And I'm not just saying that. I've got the conversations between me and him, the hard copies where they tried deleting, omitting, getting rid of. I've got the hard copies proving why he was in Delphi, on who and where. I'm not just saying this. I got the documents to back me up. The investigation, the months-long investigation days after Karina, every text, every call that was recorded, every email.
All right, so we'll get it figured out then. So that way we can put it together. And like I said, we'll help you with that. So I thank you for coming up.
And you guys are missing a bunch of names right there on the Kokomo crew. And I want to give you guys an example of how I made the Kokomo crew that name. That Kokomo crew right there, it started from the Foster Park crew. It was a group. When I was on the streets, when I first got to Kokomo, I was on the streets, and they surrounded me, and I made the name of the Foster Park crew. Some of the individuals that did not listen to me, and it's not worth getting into the drugs, that drug ring, the Kokomo crew's the name I gave them. It's not worth starting to do petty crimes like theft and then turning that into a profit. Having these kids going in and doing petty theft, working on way up to having these kids dealing for them, which they're getting charges right now. The ones that didn't listen went to Gabe Ellis. Sierra Daly was hanging around in Foster Park crew. That's how I knew her. And others. They did not listen to me, and they got and ran off with individuals like Gabe Ellis. He was coming around just like his friends and taking individuals out of that Foster Park crew into the Kokomo crew. That's how I gave them that name and why I gave them that name. And in the Kokomo crew, some of the names you're missing, Andrew Robert Smith, he had not one, but two. One of the girls, one of the first 4 kids I got home alive, in the 2018 video, I brought up Kristen, her first name, and her mom asked me, and her grandmother seeked me out when I was on the streets. I got that little girl home alive. And Andrew Robert Smith is a known child molester that was on the run. He had not one, but 2 within 48 hours. Underage girls found at his apartment where he had a warrant for failure to register as a sex offender. And then he had a warrant out for his arrest. They didn't run his name, but they had 2 little girls found at his apartment 48 hours between each other. And this mother was begging for them to do knowing her daughter was being sex trafficked, they forced her to take a shower. They refused this little girl medical care, including a rape kit. The mom was begging for them to do.
Jeez. Okay, so I definitely, like I said, I think your info needs to get out there. We need to make sure it's organized so people can understand it. We're just gonna.
I do have 8 people, 4 dogs and 4 children. I got home alive.
Michael, send me your stuff. I will help you, but we have to move on. We have to move on.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna hop off here. You guys can move on.
I love it. Thank you, but please send me your stuff. I will absolutely help you.
Okay, I'm gonna be in chat, but hey, I'm gonna let you guys move on.
Thank you, and thank
hey,
you.
Godspeed. Good night.
Fiend, I like your cut, G.
Hi, T. Thanks.
Looking good. You got that done today, huh?
Yes. I had dinner. I had breakfast for dinner. I got a haircut and then breakfast for dinner.
Breakfast for dinner is the best.
That's what we're having tonight for dinner.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Having some banana pancakes. In case anybody doesn't know, we always have banana pancakes.
Do you? I don't know if I don't think I've ever had banana pancakes, but
they're so good. So good. Banana pancakes, and then the kids get chocolate chips in theirs. I don't like chocolate chips, so I don't.
I do not like banana and chocolate. Like I like banana bread, but if you put chocolate chips in it, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah, no.
It's the wrong thing to do.
Okay, so what's up, guys?
We usually have dippy eggs. What were we talking about?
Dippy eggs are like, is that like soft-boiled eggs?
I don't know. It's like where you can dip the bread in them and the yolk comes out.
Right.
Yuck.
It's a soft-boiled egg. No, that's a classic tea.
Yeah, no, I know my husband and my daughter love
raised
that.
On that.
That's my daughter, my daughter and my husband eat. I don't like it. I'm a scrambled egg or a fried egg, but I don't want anything.
It's like an English thing. Like it's. I don't even know if it's even fully cooked, but like you basically just have like the yolk as a dipping sauce.
It's
awesome.
Bro,
it's awesome.
I don't want runny yucky yolk.
But have you used it as a dipping sauce? Because
I was gonna say
it's awesome.
I don't even really like dipping sauce.
You don't like dipping sauces?
Not really. Maybe barbecue every once in a while, but I'm trying to think if I ever dip anything. Sometimes, like rarely, I'll do French fries in ketchup. It's very, very rare. Sometimes chicken nuggets in a barbecue sauce, but that's still also very, very rare. I don't do dipping sauces.
I think it's unfair to say you don't like dippy eggs unless you've tried them. But you gotta like.
I can tell I don't like them because I don't like runny yolk. I don't like runny yolk in a fried egg sandwich. I don't, and that's got bread.
You gotta dip it though, not just eat it. Like I would not make a dippy egg and then like spoon it up and then
I've never heard somebody call it a dippy egg.
It's a dippy egg.
What do you do with it?
Well, I mean that is what you do with it, but it's a I mean it's a soft boiled egg. So like it's like a hard boiled egg, it's just not all the way hard. And then you put it in the little cups and then you knock the top off of it and then you take your bread with butter and in little slices and dip it in there. But you just jumped all the way to the dippy part.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Do you put cheese on it?
No. What? No. What?
Yeah, no. It's straight like bread and butter and egg yolk.
I mean, after you dip it and all the yolk is gone, then you could probably put it like on a sandwich and maybe put cheese on it. But like, no, you got to dip. You got to dip them. They're dippy eggs.
Well, no, after you use all the yolk, you got to use your spoon and you get out the white part of it because it's still good.
I do not fold my pizza, Criminal Network. I do not fold my pizza unless it's really big, like a giant slice of New York pizza. But no, I don't. I don't fold my pizza, and I don't eat pizza with a knife and fork.
There's nothing wrong with that.
My husband does that.
Do you blot it though? Like, do you blot it with a napkin though?
No, God, no. I want the grease. I want it to I want it to be dripping down my hand when I eat it.
Oh my word!
I love French toast also, but banana pancakes have taken over. Anybody watching the football game tonight?
No, not me.
No, we're all watching you.
Mm-hmm. I changed my bed. I changed the duvet. I put my kid to bed. I've been doing a lot over here.
I'm glad that you've been productive while I've been sitting here.
I've been listening though.
Knows what's poached eggs are like the best egg. Poached, way to go.
I thought this was the football game. Sometimes it feels like it. I feel like I get knocked down, but I get up again. All right, so we were talking about the jury visit and whether we thought it was conducive to either side, one more than the other. So, Fiend, you didn't get to talk on that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it seems like pretty standard type of thing. I mean, I think that I have suspicion that it might get denied. I just from my personal experience, I think that your perspective changes a lot going there versus having it described to you via third parties. I think that there's a lot that is lost in context. Even when people try to tell you, like, this is a much smaller area than what you think it is. It is very, like, closely contained, and I don't think people appreciate it the way it's described. If you're like, oh, it's just like, there's no way that there's no way you'd be able to search all this area, or so it's so plausible to get lost, like just not be able to find a certain spot. That's actually just not correct. And then there's a big narrative as far as how, and I think that this is what's going to be cited, which I think that they need to drag Gull out there and walk her around, because I think it's going to be cited that this is like, dangerous terrain, or it's a safety risk, or it's treacherous or something. And that's just not accurate at all. It's completely false information that has been just perpetuated over and over again to where people believe it's true, but like, there's nobody falling off a cliff to their death there. It's it's not what it is. And it's hard to appreciate unless you actually go there and walk around, and then you'll see it's not that big a deal.
Okay, so do you think that Nick's going to come back and say that he is against the jury view or for it?
I mean, I guess that she's saying that they would basically have to argue whether to do that or not. But yeah, I mean, I think that, I don't know. I think that it's more helpful to control the narrative, which is what the state wants to do, by not actually showing evidence and showing the reality of things.
I agree with that. I think it'll be more easy for him to paint the picture that would be most appropriate for the case that he thinks that he has, rather than them seeing it and drawing their own. For example, like we said about the sticks, and them going and saying, well, wait a minute, like, we're in a clearing. Like, if they're just shown pictures that are a little closer, they wouldn't really know that the rest, I'm just using this as an example, that the rest around that clearing was much more dense. Do you know what I mean?
Right. You're also, if you walk through there, you'll see thousands of sticks on the ground, and you're not like gonna think this person could only find 3 sticks to use. Sure. Like, no, there would be like an abundance of brush even readily at hand to cover a body if that's what it actually was. But I mean, honestly, like it's so ridiculous. And I mean, I think that like I really, when I did the Perlmutter reading, like I kind of like really felt for her trying to explain when she was trying to explain, like, I mean, to some of the stuff she says might be a bit of a stretch for most people, but there's some stuff that was just like so basic. And she was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they obviously wasn't used to cover the bodies because the bodies weren't covered. Like, it's hard to explain how like bizarre that type of an argument is, because it's just so outside the realm of reality. Like, if they wanted to cover the bodies, they just throw a bunch of stuff that was sitting right there on top of the bodies. So like, that's what would happen. Like that's obviously not what that is. Just it's so obvious, and to like postulate the opposite is, I mean, it's beyond silly.
She made another really good point that I feel like I don't hear about often when we're talking about like the sticks, particularly on Abby, and how they wrote that it was a rune, and then it matched the rune that was on Brad Holder's hand that he drew. And I think what gets lost in her testimony is the fact that that particular rune was not just a rune. Like, it's not a letter in the runic alphabet. It was a bind rune that he created, and it just happened to match.
It's sort of a yes and no on that one, because it is an actual rune in one of the runic alphabets, but then it's a bind rune in a different runic alphabet. That's one of the things is, as far as like interpreting these things, there's a bunch of different runic alphabets, and like that makes it hard to figure out what anything is. And it's not a matter of like what is it, like as far as specifically, but what is it generally? And is it probably one of these things? Like, is that what it appears to be? The answer is yes. Like, that's what it appears to be. Like, that was deducted from the very first moment that it was seen by people. They immediately knew this appears to be runic in nature, and it's not that important which rune it is, or whether it's a bind rune, or whether it's a natural rune, or which alphabet it comes from. It's that it is purposefully created. That's the only thing that matters. It doesn't matter what it actually is.
Okay, so there's a question in chat about the the attorneys going to the jury view. And I thought the judges went too. I remember I thought Judge Newman went, and I thought Cannoni went too. Do you guys remember that? Because I know you guys both kind of followed Karen.
Bev did not go.
Bev did not go, but did Newman go?
No, Bev didn't go. And actually, you know what's really weird is that they had reporters there, like where the jury view was. So it was really bizarre that they would allow them there, knowing that the jury was going to be there. So I think it was less of a concern than most people are concerned about this particular thing with people. But no, she did not go.
The media got to go to the scene, and they actually got like their own time to walk around.
Yes.
But I would find it jurors being there for Murdoch.
I'd find it really weird if the judge wasn't there just to monitor what the attorneys are doing.
Well, the bailiffs go, or like whoever, like there are people from the court that go, but not the judge personally herself.
Okay. Because basically the attorneys aren't allowed to like say anything while they do this.
Didn't Newman go?
Except for like, look at this. I'd like to draw attention to this area, or just look at this here. They're not allowed to like make any sort of arguments about anything.
No, they just have certain sections that they're like told to look at. Like, these are the main points of what you're going to need to see while you're there.
Yeah, they can sometimes do that. That's like at a maximum, but generally they won't speak to them. Like for Karen Reed, they made arguments to the jury in the courtroom, not arguments, but in the courtroom in front of the judge to the jury. The attorneys said, when you go there, I want you to pay particular attention to A, B, and C. And then they went there, keeping in mind what they were just told. So they weren't, like, the lawyers weren't telling them at the jury view what to look at in real time.
Okay, so people in chat are saying Newman did go, Cannoni did not go.
Newman might have, I don't know for sure, but I know Bev didn't go.
I thought they both did, but my memory's probably bad on that. So, okay, there was another motion that came out, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this, yours in chats. Travis says, normally the judge goes, attorneys always go, typically selected media away, slightly removed from the area, no interaction other than sometimes an intro like Sleuthy just described. There you go. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this. This motion to compel the deponents to answer certified questions. So obviously, the questions don't make a lot of sense to us necessarily because there's other things that were happening around the time that we don't know. But I thought it was interesting in itself that there was a motion that was put in to compel these people to have to answer these questions because the state is not allowing them to.
Yeah, we talked to Travis the other night, and he did a really good job explaining basically like the unusualness of, because like a deposition is different. So typically they would object to the, by they, I mean, let's say Robinson's lawyer would object to the question for the record, but then allow his client to answer. So it was a little strange, like Nick didn't allow them to answer at all. And I guess the only thing that could stop them from doing that generally was, I remember privilege was one, but I don't remember what the rest of them were. Like maybe privilege and like maybe an open investigation. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but the privilege for sure was one of them.
Well, I feel like you probably, I mean, I'm not hashtag not a lawyer, but I mean, I feel like you don't really have to have like the question certified unless you know that it's a valid question to begin with. Like that's what raises the red flag. Usually you drop it if you're like beyond your scope of like something you can reasonably ask. But I mean, we can all read the questions that they're saying. Like there's obviously no reason that any of these things should be
not answered.
Not answered.
Depends on the context.
There's no reason that any of these things should be not answered.
That's what my thought is. It has to, like, we don't have the full scope because we don't know the line of questioning. And if this is important to a specific line of questioning, might be why they don't want it answered.
Well, no, I mean, I think that all you have to do is actually read through the questions, and I don't think that holds up that well because these are things that should easily be answered. And I don't know. I did a tweet about it, but I mean, if these are the things that they're like hanging on, I think it really details how bad the case is. That like this is what's important to the state because these things aren't really that important to prove anything. Like if you get to the last line of the questions, I think the last four are the ones that really like jumped out at me. Like
Hans Mullins?
Yeah.
Yes, they stuck out to me as well.
Yeah, because the state doesn't need any of these things to like be relevant to their case, like unless they do. But if those are the things that they need to be relevant for their case, like they've got a huge problem because that means they don't have any evidence. Otherwise, you just answer these questions because it doesn't matter to you. Like, why wouldn't it matter? Just answer the question. Like, how is this
okay? So
important?
What live was Travis on where he talked about this?
R&M. We were talking about it.
Okay, can you grab that link and you put it in chat maybe so I know the right one?
Yes. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
So
go back and listen to it because I thought it was intriguing that they're even trying to push this, and obviously we don't have an answer yet. But you guys think that the Mullins stuff was the most important in this?
I mean, it's just what jumped out to me because it's all about these very rudimentary types of questions and about whether this is fatal to your case or not, and they're all that. Is this fatal to your case? Is this fatal to your case? Is this fatal to your case? Like, if these things are fatal to your case, the answer to all these things should be no, absolutely not. It's absolutely not fatal to our case because our case is based on evidence. Like, that would be the answer. That would be the normal answer.
Well,
if you're not willing to say that, I think you're saying the opposite, that you don't have the evidence and this is fundamental to your case in some way. Otherwise, you would just say, no, it's not fatal to my case. My case is solid, no matter what the answer to this question is.
I get what you're saying, and I feel the same to a degree. But when I had brought this up to Travis, his thinking was that it was probably the questions themselves, like fatally, whatever that phrase is, fatally, whatever, would it be fatal to the case? Might be too broad of a comment because, like, what does that mean? Fatal how?
I mean, fatal means that they're going to lose. If this is not true, is your entire theory of the case like nothing?
So that would be true, though.
It's an easy answer no to all of these questions. An easy answer is this fatal to our case? No. Is this fatal to your case? No. Is this fatal to your case? No. None of these things are fatal to our case because we have evidence.
What's the questions, Teresa? Like, what is the first one?
So here's one. So, like, is your timeline, this is Mullen stuff, is your timeline and theory of the case fatal to the prosecution's case against Richard Allen? Which means it's killed, it's done, it's fatal, it's gone. It means your case is over. So Travis is saying, like, it's argumentative, which I could see that because it's like, obviously, there's enough probable cause to go to trial, so it's up to the jury. But I think that, and a couple people in chat said this too, it would be like, is your timeline and theory of the case a fatal flaw to the prosecution's case?
If we suggested like sample questions when we were trying to figure out how they could have maybe gotten these answered, and one of them was like, so this is particularly Betsy Blair observed on the bridge is not Richard Allen. So maybe a different way to phrase that could have been more open-ended, because I personally, like, I feel like if I was doing a deposition, I would want room for them to talk a lot, because then I could then use like whatever they're saying when we're at trial, as opposed to them just answering yes or no. Like, he wanted him to say yes or no, but if he would have asked a more general but direct question, like, let's say if Betsy Blair observed, if the person that Betsy Blair saw on the bridge was not Richard Allen, how would that affect?
Okay, hold on a second.
Well, I don't think the questions are like that. I mean, they're pretty
Let me go back
direct.
and read the whole statement, because these are the A through D are the ones that would have led to those types of questions. So on September 13th, the defense deposed Steve Mullen. Mr. Mullen refused to answer questions posed in subsections A through D below. Rather than answer the simple yes or no question, Mullen repeatedly made conclusory statements to defense counsel that Richard Allen was the man that Betsy Blair observed and was the man that Sarah Carbaugh observed, etc. The deposition has not yet been transcribed, so the defense cannot be certain as to the exact form of the question at deposition. But the questions certified were to the effect of these. So we don't even know yet exactly how those were stated. But this is what they're saying. Like, this is essentially.
They're taking notes too. So I mean, I think that they're just covering themselves. But I mean, the baseline here is the person Betsy Blair observed on the bridge is not Richard Allen. Like, why? Like,
so why if it's not,
why does it need to be Richard Allen? Like it could be somebody else, and he could still be the killer. Like that shouldn't matter to your case at all.
Because they're insistent that the person that was standing there on the bridge that Betsy Blair saw was the killer, was the bridge guy. That's the problem.
I don't know. I feel like it's a weird thing that they're hanging their hat on because it's not compelling evidence, and if that's all that they're going to present in a trial, like that's extremely not confident in that sort of thing.
Well, that should the answer to this
because Betsy Blair
no.
seeing Richard Allen on the bridge doesn't make Richard Allen a murderer, and if in her seeing somebody else on the bridge doesn't make him not the murderer. Like that, so that shouldn't be fundamental to your case because it's not really relevant.
Well, we know that it is a big portion. Like a large portion of this is eyewitnesses saying they saw this person.
I've got an extreme concern about the state's case if that's really all that they have, and then it's not it's not the strongest pillar of their case. Then it's by far the weakest pillar of the case.
I've always said I don't even think they're going to put all these witnesses on the stand.
I agree.
I would be surprised that these guys even become. It doesn't make sense to me, especially now that Nick was so okay with saying, like, during the hearings that these people were pressured into giving sketches that they didn't even want to give. But to me, the bigger part is them trying to prove that Richard Allen is BG, and these people are all saying, whether it be Sarah Carbaugh, from what the PCA says Sarah said, not what the defense says Sarah said, and Betsy Blair and the group of girls are saying that the person that's in the video of Libby's video is the person that they saw. Now, all those things together don't make that person Richard Allen, because nobody so far has come forward and said, yeah, Richard Allen is the guy I saw.
Nobody I think the first question might be one of the rest of them are probably even weaker, just because I think that at least you have a point of, like, if it's Richard Allen on the bridge, then I mean, the thing is, he's already said that he walked out onto the bridge. So, like, substantiating that he's willing to walk out on the bridge and just, okay, there's lots of people that are willing to walk out on the bridge. I just don't think that's very strong by itself. And he's already said that he did walk out onto the bridge, which, so
he didn't say he walked out onto the bridge that day.
He did, I think.
He didn't.
Well, it's fuzzy. It depends on the phrasing of some of the things. Some of the things they've stated that he said he walked out the first platform.
Yeah, but that's when they talked to him in October of 2022 that he says that he has.
Right.
So that I think that fuzzy is a good word, because we don't know exactly what he says, but he doesn't tell Dan Doolin that he did.
No.
Not in Dan Doolin's notes anyway.
No, I mean, well,
I mean, we do understand that a large portion of the case, as far as we know it currently, is heavily reliant upon his presence there, right? Like we do know that, like, a large portion of this is just the fact that he said he was there, and they have these witnesses that describe a person that Nick thinks could be him, and a blurry video that could be anybody, but that means it could also be Richard Allen. And then the confessions, like, that's like, as far as what we know, like, that is their case. So if you're thinking in that kind of way, then I could see why, if that were the only things, why he wouldn't want these questions answered. Because if he answers, if Mullins says, well, if the person that Betsy Blair saw on the bridge is not Richard Allen, then yeah, it would be fatal to our case. Then when they go to trial, if the defense calls Betsy Blair and says, is Richard Allen the person that you saw standing on the bridge, and she says no, then that means Mullen had said that means the case means nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Right. So then what's the purpose of making it so that these are not, that these are questions that are not answered? Why not just let them answer it? No, we have other evidence that supports that Richard Allen is. is guilty. So no, it's not fatal.
Because maybe Nick knew that then the follow-up questions to that would be probing into what other evidence that could be, because they've already said in their depositions it's not DNA and it's not cell phone or laptop data and it's not fingerprints and it's not, you know what I mean?
Okay, but I mean, like they would already
they
would already have that evidence because it's September 13th of 2024. So you see what I mean? I don't.
Interesting. Like after the hearings and so
yeah,
I find that interesting
because there is nothing else besides this unspent round. So is your case fatally flawed if these people don't say that's Richard Allen? Why tell them not to answer that question if you have more stuff like this whole big that there's going to be more evidence and we're going to see more come trial that we don't know about now?
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, it seems like they may be a little bit light on any additional evidence that is coming in. And I thought I didn't notice it until somebody, I forget who to credit with it. That the bullet hasn't been, I think it was Yellow Jacket. The bullet hasn't been mentioned. And I think other people have mentioned as well. But
yeah, she did.
The bullet hasn't been mentioned for a very,
months.
very long time.
Right.
Which on the defense side, fine. Like, I'm not making anything of that. On the state side, okay, that is a little bit weird. Like, I mean, and again, we don't have like a lot being like stated by the state about these eyewitness accounts. The only thing that the states like put a lot of weight on is the statements and the quote unquote confessions. Like, right. I'm not sure that they've put any weight on anything else. Like, I mean, I'd say the second and third pillar are the cartridge and these eyewitness accounts. But you know what? They haven't mentioned these things at all for a very long time.
I thought about that when we were talking before about it was a huge deal before about the chain of custody of this bullet, and nobody's brought it up since. So it's like, did they turn over a chain of custody, or did they make an agreement on how they were going to present this? Because nobody talks about it anymore. It's gone. It's like not.
I mean, I think the state's in a bad position with a lot of these things. That what they want to present, there's a lot of argument, like very evident against it. Like, you can bring out the cartridge, but like, do the markings really match? And also, do you not have any like chain of custody? You don't have this documented at all. Like, is that going to look better for you or worse for you when it's all said and done? And the same with like the eyewitness accounts. Like, when you really put them underneath the microscope, like, is this going to be better for you or worse for you? And I think that they have to really consider whether some of these things are even though like that's the evidence that they have, like, you'd want to use this when you subject it to scrutiny. Is it a net positive for your case or not?
I wonder if Nick has thought, like, from the perspective of a juror, in the sense that, like, for me, and I've always said, like, my disconnect between the bridge guy and the crime is, what do you have that's going to connect the bridge guy, like, besides the bullet, right? Because the bullet, as far as I can tell from the filings, the only thing that connects the bridge guy to the crime scene itself is supposedly being able to hear in the recording somebody say the word gun. Now,
well, I mean, the proximity by itself is what connects it. I mean, that it was there. That's what connects it.
That what was, no, I mean, that connects the bridge guy to the, like, that bullet doesn't mean anything unless you have a guy on a bridge with a gun and the bullet matches.
No, I see. I would disagree. I think if that's clearly, if that's actually a bullet from Richard Allen's gun that is recent, that was there at the crime scene, like, I would weigh that very, very strongly. I question very much whether they can prove any of those things, like, or whether any of those things are like even close to being true. Like, let's see this bullet. Like, like if it's 20 years old and rusted, like this is kind of dumb, right? I mean, the entire argument's dumb. Like, we'd have to see it.
The Royal We said it basically, like, why would they be looking for a bullet in the first place? Like, what? They weren't shot. What, like, investigative importance does that have unless they were coerced down there by someone with a gun?
I mean, I do think that there is something to be said for that. I think that, like, if it's true, like, you hear someone, I mean, this is something that I've heard a bunch as far as, like, people, but I still put it, like, highly on the speculative side of hearing on the video that you hear a gun racked. I mean, the only thing that I'd say, it's just saying, if somebody did it once, would they do it a second time? If he went onto the bridge, is he willing to go onto the bridge? No, if you prove it the first time, is it plausible that he does it a second time? If someone racks a gun once, is it plausible they rack a gun a second time? I'd say there's a little bit of weight to that, but I don't know that those things are, like, very provable to begin with.
Why would he rack the gun again in a location where the girls were brought after they were killed?
I'm just saying, if somebody proves a propensity to rack a gun to induce in a threatening behavior, like, situation, it's plausible that when they want to threaten somebody again, would they do the same thing?
But in that
their go-to move to threaten somebody is to rack a gun, and it is a threatening thing. I mean,
correct.
Like,
but in that location, they're already dead. So, like, I would, like, you would have an easier time convincing me that had something to do with it if somebody else was there and they were using it to threaten somebody else.
Yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. I mean, I don't know that that's going to be their argument, but I think I don't.
No, of course not.
But you think that they're gonna try to say that their gun was racked twice, and that's how the round ends up at the crime scene?
But why did they rack? Why, like, where would you rack it? Right? You would rack
it
it at the bridge to get them to go
nobody
down.
to control anymore, because you would have lost the bullet wouldn't have been by the girl, or the round wouldn't have been by the girls. If
everything happened right there, you can imagine that I mean, I think that's why there's,
I'm saying, I don't know the difference.
There's a little bit, like, you can kind of infer a little bit of the defenses, like what they put importance on, and they put importance on it not necessarily all happening right there. Why is that important? Well, because of what you're saying. If it all happens right there, then yeah, the bullet, like, the gun could be racked a second time right there, and the bullet falls out because everything happens right there. Right. But as soon as you, like, introduce doubt that maybe it didn't happen right there, then that doesn't make much sense anymore.
Right.
Because then it might be after they're dead. But yeah, if it all happens right there, it could be before they're dead.
Right. But if the thinking before Richard Allen was ever a defendant is that they were killed, let's say, I don't know the distance between, like, let's say the F tree and then where they were found. Let's say it's 50 feet. I'm just throwing that number out there.
I think it's pretty small. I think it's pretty short. I'm going to plug somebody because I saw this video. I think that, like, the words on the screen aren't great because they try to like push forward a specific narrative, but the actual like 3D modeling is like pretty decent. But Turbo Time had a decent tweet to somebody. It's a different. It's a really tiny channel, but they modeled it all, and it does show like basically like the proximity of all the things like right there at the crime scene. Like
what is it?
The distance to the tree and where the bodies are and just all that. The words on the screen I don't necessarily agree with, but I think the modeling
who's did the model? Who did that?
I am gonna say that it's probably an unknown type of person. Let me see if I can find the channel here.
Okay.
But it was interesting just to look at, and I don't think it's off. I think it's like fairly correct. Nope, I don't know. It's been deleted.
Seriously?
Well, the tweet's been deleted.
Oh, okay.
But the YouTube channel, I'm sure is there. I'm not sure if I can figure out how to find it. I probably didn't like it, but I don't know. I might have. That would be the only way. Oh no, I can look through my watch history. Let's see.
Oh, you don't have to go to all that trouble. I was just wondering, since you think it's good, I'd like to watch it.
I think it's really, really short. So I mean, I think it's whether you think it's legit or not. Like, I think it's worth a minute of time to just look at it and just see what you think.
So something that caught my attention earlier too, and I just thought I'd get your guys' thoughts on this. So just take it for what it is. But they say that the bodies were covered approximately 3% with sticks, and then when Michael was up here, he's talking about the fact that the some of the third-party suspects have tattoos that say the 3%ers.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
I was gonna say my conspiracy brain wants to say, "Oh, that's suspicious." But
I just thought it was interesting.
But like the logical goose is like, yeah, I don't think so. I think there's many things that could definitely, I can definitely piece together between them and the crime scene and stuff. But for me, that's not it.
I mean, if anything, maybe they're the guys.
Because how would they know it was 3%? You know what I mean?
Maybe he's primed to say 3% because he's familiar with 3%ers, and that's why he says 3%. But
like
3% is probably not an accurate like percentage. And
I was just bringing it up. I just thought it was an interesting correlation.
Like, did they look and be like, that looks more like 5%, so I need to find like a smaller stick so it's closer to 3%? Like, I just don't. There was no way to know that some random person was going to guesstimate that it was approximately 3% of the body.
No.
But in the same token, I don't think it was meant to hide even 3% of their bodies. You know what I mean?
It's not. It's not.
Well, I think that for people who think that it's not actual like runes, it still comes down to whatever this placement is intentional.
For sure.
Right.
I don't know. Is there anybody out there that still thinks that they're just randomly placed? Like, is that still?
I think there are. Yes, I think there's lots of people that think that.
No, like they randomly just fell that way. Like somebody just threw some sticks over there to cover them up.
There are people that think that right now, Teresa. Yes, the answer is yes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. They're absolutely well because if you, I mean somebody was talking about this earlier, like, or All Eyes was talking about it. Like, you have like just like a logical fallacy as far as just because you've already made up your mind on something, then you start arguing against things that are like clearly just absurd, like, and you will just go with absurd falsities just because you you don't want to concede any point to your case.
Yeah.
So because it's I mean, that's the problem. Like, just because there's points in favor on the defense side doesn't mean that he's not the guy. Like, that doesn't mean that at all.
For
like,
sure.
Like, you can concede tons of points and he'd still be the guy. You can concede almost every point that we're knowledgeable about. Like, that's what that goes back to these questions. Like, none of these things need to be true for him to be the guy. They shouldn't need to be true. Like, you should have like actual evidence. Like, there's no logical like connection because he's the guy on the bridge and because his car was parked at the CPS building. Like, so what? That doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove a murder. Like, that doesn't do anything. That's not like, if that's what your case is, you got a huge problem. Which I think they do recognize, and I think that's why the main pillar of everything is the statements and quote unquote confessions. Like, they needed those. And they made sure that they got those. They made sure that they got those.
I do agree.
Because they did not have those things previously.
Right.
Those are things that are manufactured, but are they real evidence? No, it's not real evidence. It's just words. Just words is not real evidence. And the problem with this case is that they should have a ton of real evidence unless something has happened to it. Who does that point to if it doesn't point to Richard Allen? Because that's the problem. It points to somebody. Whether that person is identified or not identified. But it doesn't point to Richard Allen, as far as we know.
I agree with all eyes in the sense that, and she said, dude in the video is not looking at or for anyone. He's just crossing the bridge like all the other people there that day did. And I've thought the same thing, is like, I wonder how I'm going to feel and what I'm going to think when I see the actual video, not where it's like clipped and stopping so quickly, but like if I get to see his actual, how he's walking, like the video doesn't seem over the years to have alarmed the people who actually saw it and listened to it. And so another big thing for me is, how are we going to prove that the man in the video is the same person that's telling them to go down the hill, number one? And number two, how do we know? So if they go down the hill right there at the south end of the bridge, then they go onto the private drive. So how did they then get from the private drive to where they were? Do you know what I mean? How are we proving that they didn't leave the private drive?
I know what you mean. And so, I mean, I'd have to like go into speculation a little bit. Like, first of all, it's not speculation that like it's not a video. These are a very few frames from a video that have been like compiled into basically a GIF. You know, like if everybody's familiar with a GIF, like it's just some frames like they're pieced together. That's what we have. We have the individual frames pieced together. It is not a video. They're like they're not even really photographs. But I mean, to speculate, I mean, I think that probably what you have here is just a phone like not trained on him at all. You know, the camera's not on him. Like, it's just something that's in a background fleetingly as the phone moves around.
So you don't think that there's
and then later, like maybe you hear the voice on the audio, but you're not matching it up to a video. So like, I mean, because they very clearly like had stated that they didn't know that that's the two things necessarily go to each other, because it could be that guy was walking from one direction, but then he's only in frame for like a split second, you know, or
I guess Nick could argue that the reason that they know that that's the man that approached them is because a man did not come forward as a witness saying that he saw the girls at the end of the bridge with another man. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think I'm so I could say again, speculating, but like, hey, you say the phone just like flashes and catches that guy walking in the background, and then the recording's still going. It's not actually recording much useful as far as video. But then you hear that voice on it. Like, is there somebody walking towards them from one side and somebody walking behind them from the other side? And
exactly,
you don't know that, like, hey, maybe there's somebody walking. I mean, that's where, like, it could be somebody walking up behind them, and that's whose voice it is. So you don't know that it's that guy walking there, or like, I
that's
don't know.
how I feel.
It also depends the context of it, of how like really threatening it is. Like, I mean, guy walking towards them, maybe a nobody that doesn't do anything, and like meanwhile they're being abducted, but he doesn't even realize it, or he's just about to turn around and walk back the other direction.
Yeah, or
he doesn't have to walk the whole bridge. Not everybody walks the entire bridge one end to the other. Like it's not like you're going any place on that bridge. You're just walking on the bridge just to walk on the bridge.
Now, see, if I were, that's like the clearest I've ever seen it. I would not say that is Richard Allen.
Now this is one of the first photos that came out like on the news, and this is when I used to think it was Tobe.
Yeah, if that were a face that I'm looking at just right off the bat and I can't see it in the video and all that stuff, like I've been convinced that it could be possible that the person's walking the opposite direction. Like that's not even a face, that's the back of somebody's head. But this looks more like a face, and to me it doesn't look like Richard Allen. But
is that a hat or is it hair?
It looks like a hat. See, it's up to interpretation. It looks like a hat to me.
Because I don't know. Dude, I cannot tell anything by looking at this thing. I can't tell.
And it almost looks like there's like something around his neck, like binoculars or
Is
glasses,
there?
like reading glasses.
Well, that's like the, what do you call it?
If I look at this, I'd say like his face isn't covered, but that's
baklava is supposed to be down here now. Like remember, because it was up around his face, and then it's supposed to have gone down.
Yeah, but that's kind of weird though, because that was the kind of the connection, is that like the primary connection of all the witnesses in the PCA is that the face is covered. That more than height, age, clothes, like anything. The only thing that's consistent is that they don't see his face, because it's either covered or they just don't see it.
Now here it looks more like a hood. Perhaps there's a hat underneath, but it looks more like a hood. But to me, this looks like an old ass man, and I'm not talking about somebody in their 40s or like or 50. Like that looks like an old man. Like even if you zoom out, to me that looks like an old man. But my biggest thing is, and I've always said it, I'm 5'7". If I were to walk past a man that was 5'4", I might not be able to tell you anything else about them, but it will absolutely stick out in my head, regardless of when I'm approached. If it's the following day and I didn't know that there was something that was going to happen just then, I would remember walking past a really tiny man.
So Sleuthie, you wouldn't say that. So if you walked by some of those 5'4", 5'5", you wouldn't say you came up to his shoulder.
No, obviously not. He'd probably come up to my shoulder.
Well, his head's or your head's more than 2 inches tall.
Well, I'm just saying, like if it was a girl, I wouldn't think anything of it. But if I notice men that are shorter than me, 100%.
And this goes to
that seems sexist. If I noticed women that were shorter than me, that would be like most women.
But they're supposed to be shorter than you. Like you would notice a man that was shorter than you. You would
totally notice a tiny man.
Just like I would notice a freaking giant man. Like if somebody walked past me that was 7 feet tall, I would remember that.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I say. Like the pillar that is the witness statements is not great, and also like I don't even know what like logical conclusion you're making out of these things. They seem to state all these things and be like, and that are like not consistent at all, and then be like, ta-da, it's Richard Allen. Be like, that doesn't make it Richard Allen at all. Like none of those things, like those, like walk me through it. What, like the guy in all black is the guy in all blue, and he's a foot taller than them, and he's parked here, and this is his car, but it's described as a different car, and then a different car, and then a different car. But like, at what point is it supposed to like can be compelling that it's anything to do with Richard Allen? Like, I'm not seeing the connection.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I think that was the immediate like reaction when the PCA was released, to be like, well, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And it still doesn't. And they've never like clarified a better theory of the case.
How do these pictures look different? Like how are there multiple different looking pictures?
Because those are framed, because they're frames that have been like retconned into a quote unquote video, but it's not actually a video. It's like a GIF made up of.
Like I've pulled up, like somebody put 3 side by side. I'm sure I still have it. And it's like the first one, and then like one that was put out by ISP, and then like another, and like all 3 of them look different. Do you know what I'm talking about? The picture I'm talking about? I can find it.
You're talking about all 3 of Bridge Guy?
Yes. It's 3 pictures side by side, and they look, it's not like, it's definitely not this. Like it's not, I've seen this. Let me go find it.
Okay. Yeah, this is just like the frame by frame. And
right.
They do look different. They look different. Some look like he had, this is how it was always such an issue, was because some look like he did have his face covered. Others look like he had a mustache.
Right. It completely depends on which frame you're picking as far as what you're going. Well, I mean, the case in point of this is not useful information for the public to identify anybody is that this was provided to the public and they were not able to identify anybody. That is just 100% the reality of it. Same with the voice. It was provided to the public. The public did not identify anybody based off of it. To pretend that it's like relevant now, it's not. Like, if it was Richard Allen, how did all the cops go into CVS and look at this guy straight in the face and just be like, oh, well, they wouldn't. Because this is not useful information to identify a person off of. That's the bottom line.
Well, this is why when we took all the quote unquote side by sides with all the social media
because people wanted
Richard
to
Allen,
believe that
we can find a match. We can find a match.
People wanted to believe that it was useful, but the reality was that it was never useful. It was never going to be useful. And if it's Richard Allen, then we even more so know that it is not useful. So people that think it's Richard Allen should not be using this, because it's contrary to like what the point they're trying to make. Because obviously, if this was useful to identifying Richard Allen, then he would have been identified very easily, very quickly, because he was right there in front of everybody. Like everybody in Delphi, I looked them right in the face all the time. It's the only pharmacy right there.
And we know that the girls had been there. We just don't know for sure they'd been there when he was working. But we do know that the people who had seen him, I don't know. I think it could go either way.
Drawing a connection of Richard Allen to anybody in Delphi isn't very significant, because, I mean, in that case, I'll say, yeah, it is a small town. So like connections by themselves, like.
But he didn't like try to stay away from the picture. Like he never he's photographed in front of the sketch. Like, it's not like he avoided being near the sketch with this thought that, like, if I'm standing too close to the sketch, maybe somebody will piece it together.
No. Yeah. There's a famous photo of him in a bar, and the sketch is right behind him in the photo.
Yeah.
Well,
But
you know, when I
people,
like, you know, I hadn't been like following Delphi a super long time, and obviously this wasn't a line that existed before his arrest. But like when he was arrested, you know, like my initial assumption was that this guy has to be the guy and involved,
Mine too.
and that you know, they're sealing it for a good reason, and maybe like there's going to be some upcoming arrests, and you know, like, you know, it seems pretty sketchy. They like, I don't know, like he's gloating by like, hanging out in front of the picture of himself, but like what came out after that is not convincing. It's not compelling, and they've never come out with anything that has been compelling or convincing. And that's why you have like all like whatever you call them, pro prosecution people, like manufacturing things that are like not actual things. They're just imaginary things to be convincing because they want to be convinced. But like made up things aren't convincing. Like, where is the actual compelling, convincing evidence of anything?
is this the three photos that you were talking about? This is more of the side by side, but I don't think this is the one that you wanted.
It might be. No. Well, maybe. Are you zoomed all the way in?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was a full body. This might be it, but it was a full body thing.
Okay.
And like in the
trying
one,
to
he
see if I
looked
had it.
taller. Then he looked fatter.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that one.
Like sometimes he looks skinny. Like for me, when I look at like the legs, like it looks like a skinny man with skinny leg. Like it looks like his legs are very skinny inside big jeans.
I agree with that. Which always gave the perception like he had a big belly because he needed the pants to be able to fit his belly.
Or a belt. Or other clothes. Like if he had like multiple shirts on tucked in.
Or he could have a puppy in there.
Or a
puppy.
kitty.
It's possible.
All right, let me see. I don't think I have it, Sleuthy. I'm looking to see if it's under a different file. All right,
I just
see.
would be super curious. And I was thinking about this today. Like, I would be super curious to see if the prosecution puts any of these like eyewitnesses on the stand because number one, you're risking them being asked if the person they saw that day was Richard Allen. And number two, the missing interviews. Like Bree wasn't interviewed until 2020, and I really couldn't figure out how.
That's insane. I was also just thinking about that today.
But is it possible she was interviewed and they just lost the interview and said the only one they had was 2020?
Maybe.
Yes, that's
because she was at the Delphi Police Department that night with Kelsey.
Right. So that would be less suspicious. Like if I found out they talked to her or she talked to them like right then and then they lost it, that would make more sense than her not saying anything to anybody.
But they didn't follow up with her until 2020 and get the photographs off their photographs off their camera.
Right. And at that point
until 2020, which is insane. That's insane.
Which in my opinion, she's actually being more interviewed about the Keegan Kline stuff when they're trying to connect Keegan Kline to the murders, because there was the speculation that, you know, that Bree was in contact with Keegan Kline.
But my thing is after 3 years,
speculation.
Whose interviews, like all they have, so let's say that they have narratives that were written up by the police for those interviews. They just don't have the actual interviews. Well, you as a witness, you're now going off of what the police say you said rather than being able to watch a video of your interview and go off of exactly what you said back then. Most people aren't going to think, well, if they're bringing me this narrative that they wrote up years ago when I talked to them the first time, and they're saying that that's what it said, or that's what I said, then I'm going to be inclined to believe that that is what I said. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That does make sense.
So I think that might be a problem. Like,
I mean, it is a problem. The deleted interviews are a huge problem for anybody that you want to introduce to the case that was interviewed, but their interview was deleted, because they're not going to remember what they said. There's no record of what they said. And so when you ask them, they're going to be like, well, I don't know. Like, it's going to be very sketchy.
For instance, Greeno was saying something the other day about having been interviewed on the 16th of February, 3 days later. Okay. And that in that interview, he told them that he had seen a red car, that he was parked there. Like, I think he said it was 3 something, but I want to say 3:15 to 3:30, sometime around there. And that there was a red car there that was facing them. And it was parked funny. So he brought that up. And then he said that they had lost the interview. It wasn't until years later when they interviewed him again that he was like, I had already told you guys this stuff. But he said it was a little bit difficult to follow, but he had said something to the effect of, I forgot that we were in a red car. Like, we didn't see a red car. We saw a car, but I accidentally said it was red because that's a car that we were in. But my point of saying this is that if they had that interview from February 16th of 2017 of him saying that he saw a red car, that would be important for the defense, right? But it's gone. So now,
yeah. So I mean, maybe this is an aside, but it may have come up a little bit during the Karen Reed case, but like there's a theory of like crime obfuscation, and like that's, instead of everybody getting their stories straight, a better strategy is for everybody to say completely different things.
Right.
So that the stories aren't straight. They're just all wildly different. And then what can law enforcement do with that? Nothing. Like,
because what's true?
Like, if you're all trying to get your story straight, and then you pick out the pieces that are different, then you have something to narrow down. But if they're all just wildly different, law enforcement's fucked. There's anything. There's nothing that you can do with that. Like, where do you even start? There's no reference point. Like, everybody just says completely different things, and that's like where you get a PT Cruiser and a smart car and a Comet. Like, well, you kind of have some of that here. Like, I mean, either all these different cars were there, or people are just saying completely randomly different things that are completely not useful. And the same with like the witnesses on the trail. Like, you got somebody he's taller, like he's a foot taller than me. Somebody that's dressed in all black, like a ninja. Another guy, mostly black. Another guy, all blue, light blue. Like, these aren't consistent things. They're not useful.
Well, you could then just say the only thing consistent with this is that there was a car. So we don't really know like what it looked like, but we do know that there was a car parked there, and Richard Allen said he parked his car there, even though he didn't necessarily say he parked it there.
Yeah, yeah. We don't have evidence that documents that he parked it. He says he parked his car there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm more inclined to go off of whatever has been said by him, like, say, in 2022 and on. I mean, at any point, really, but since they don't have anything from 2017, like, since they don't have that recording from when Doolin talked to him, like, I've seen enough at this point to be able to confidently say that I don't believe any paraphrasing from anyone who's paraphrased any interviews. Like, I want to know what was said on things that are on camera or on audio.
See, I want to know if
Right.
Doolin has any of his other interviews from that day recorded, and if it's just, is Richard Allen's the one that's just gone, or did the guy just not record shit?
I thought he said he had because he recorded all of them and he had
said,
all
I normally record everything. I don't know. I can't find that one.
Yeah, he probably made a mistake by saying that, because I don't think that they would normally introduce that sort of thing. Like, let's see the proof. Like, let's see the proof that you record all your other interviews and this is the one that's missing. Well, you don't have to do that, because he put himself on record just saying, I do record all my other ones. Well,
right.
Yeah, put him on the stand and see how well that goes over.
Yeah.
Like, when we talk about all this missing
shut
evidence
right there, open shut right there. Like, okay, this goes to weight. It goes to weight of how the jury is going to weigh this investigation and how it was conducted and what parts of it are suspicious, and there's lots, and that was always going to be the primary pillar of any defense. For anybody, not for Richard Allen, but for anybody. You put anybody on the stand, the primary pillar of the defense case is going to be, what the hell were these guys doing? Although I think you can make a way better case against a lot of other people other than Richard Allen.
I agree.
And not that they're necessarily guilty, or that Richard Allen is necessarily innocent. So, I think that a lot of other people would be in far worse shape in this chair than Richard Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Beff says, my point was the whole town saw that motherfucker walking up and down the aisles every damn day. Yeah, I agree with you. People call him a pharmacy tech all the time. But he was a manager who had to have his pharmacy tech license because he was a manager. So he says, everything you mentioned, Fiend, is from the Franks memo.
What is everything? I'm not sure what Sleuth is referring to as everything.
I think everything you just mentioned, but I didn't think that was all from the Franks memo. But
no, I'm probably not mentioning that many things from the Franks memo. I'm probably mentioning things from the PCA more than the Franks memo. But
and also, I find that people, I guess, act like the Franks memo, like the information wasn't being pulled from a multi-page list of exhibits that were mainly discovery from the prosecution.
Well, I do think that when you cite depositions in the Franks memo, yeah,
the car stuff comes from the
I'm giving some benefit of the doubt that they're not just blatantly lying about what they're directly pulling from a deposition, because
nobody came back and said that was wrong.
They're using footnotes and citing it, yeah, and it's not been refuted at any point and been like, that's not what that deposition said. No one's ever said that. Those depositions,
for me,
those depositions say what they say. They're quoting parts of it. Are they maybe leaving parts out? Maybe, I don't know.
But it's the same with the PCA. This is how for me, this is how I end up stuck here in this limbo of, I think that we could go either way, and that's actually what the live tomorrow is on. It is on whether what's accurate, what do they have, what do we know they have, and what do we speculate they have or don't have. But so I'm not going to go too far into it. But my point is like, if we take the PCA, which I always say, this case comes ultimately down to trust. Like, people trust the prosecutor and law enforcement, which is fine. Like the unified command part of law enforcement, that's fine. That's their prerogative. Other people trust the defense team. And some of us are stuck in where I don't know what's actually true, and I want everything to be in front of a jury so that we can see it in the courtroom. I think for me, the biggest things that I take away is the transcripts from the hearings. That's like the most important. If I take anything as gospel, it really comes to that. But then you also have to take into consideration that you have quote unquote experts that are presenting opinions, and they both have the history and are allowed to have their opinions based on what they have researched throughout their lives. But Ellie, okay, so Ellie has to follow certain rules like probable cause. Well, that's the problem is we don't, if you have a corrupt or a system where that in a minute, yeah, a system where we don't have faith in the fact that they're doing things the correct way, then they don't necessarily follow that. So the law enforcement, yeah, quote unquote, probable cause. I don't actually disagree that they had probable cause. I think the search warrant was fine. So for me, the Frank's memo to throw out the search warrant doesn't really correlate, but that's a whole nother topic. But it's more along the lines of you have a judge who signs all these orders and then fucking bounces. And I don't have faith in the fact that there wasn't a reason behind that. And I appreciate that there are people who do. There are people who trust it. I personally don't, which then makes me go, okay, there has to be an alternate situation. And it doesn't even mean that I think that he's innocent. I have a problem with the lack of accountability that they just get to do because people think he's guilty, that law enforcement can just do whatever the fuck they want to do. They can record over shit. They can lose shit. They can arrest people based on inaccurate information. They fill out PCAs until the judge says yes. If there's multiple PCAs, I have a problem with that. If you have the fucking evidence, put it out there and let's go. Like that's where I'm at. And like somebody in chat made a comment that I found absolutely disgusting, and I'm going to bring it up really quick before we move on about if this panel saw Richard Allen hurting the girls, and I won't say what they said because it's gross, that we wouldn't believe he was guilty. And I'll tell you right now, I am not a Richard Allen fan. I do not, my purpose of anything I cover has nothing to do with the fact that I think Richard Allen is some grand person made into this poor little patsy. I don't think that. I think that they are lying and they are getting around the truth by doing things in a very shady, fucked up way. And that is not okay, whether he is innocent or guilty. And by the way, as of right now, that man is innocent until he is proven guilty in a court of law in a fair fucking trial. I don't care if he is guilty. I'm not his fan. I don't want to go talk to Richard Allen. I know the murder sheets reached out to him. Woohoo! I don't want to talk to him. What I want to know is what evidence they have that proves that he did it and the girls get justice where how is it not fair? How is it not fair that if they fuck up the entire investigation, but because we think he's the right guy, it's not fair because it goes against our constitutional rights as citizens in America. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot just lock somebody up because we think that they're guilty. You can't do it. You have to be able to put it in front of a jury in all the evidence, put it forth. Whether you as a person on the outside or me as a person on the outside thinks it's bullshit, how did they violate his rights if they have cause? No, there's different parts that you're discussing. You're talking about the Frank's memo, and then you're talking about taking the Frank's memo to get rid of the search warrant. I believe they had probable cause to conduct a search of Richard Allen's home. I have no thought that they didn't at that point. I think that they fucked up all up until that point. My problem is if there is situations, which we don't know yet because we're not at trial, then there is a problem with the bullet. We don't know anything about it yet. But could I ignore it and act like it doesn't exist? No, because it is there in the PCA, so I have to count it as something. I just don't know enough. Now, we could talk about that he says he's on the bridge. Great, yay. 500 other people say they're on the bridge. Not 500, that's an exaggeration, but other people say they're on the bridge. You can talk about the fact that we can go back into his constitutional rights during the interview process. And we want to say that it's a custodial interrogation versus a regular old interview and what the intent was behind that. That's a violation of his constitutional rights. I mean, there's pieces. You can't take the whole thing. And that's why I get stuck here because everybody just takes the whole thing and goes, oh, well, fuck it. He's guilty. So we don't really care. But there's pieces to each part of this that matter. And they matter whether he's innocent or guilty or not. What? I know you're not serious on that. So I'm going to ignore that comment because there's no way you actually believe it. If you actually believe that, then I don't know if we have anything else to say to each other because that's absolutely not true. There's no way you can
that's a go-to argument, and yeah.
No way, but Sleuth, I adore Sleuth intuition. There's no way you actually think that about me, though.
Well,
and what you were saying initially, like, dude, I'm perfectly happy to see like some evidence that Richard Allen is the person responsible and the only person responsible, and like it probably doesn't really take that much. Like, you know, if that video just has his face just right up in it, be like, you know, like, I'm gonna weigh that pretty heavily, you know. And the things that might be coming, like as far as the cartridge, like, you know, it's a sketchy science, but like I could be persuaded that it might be like significant statements and confessions, like depending on what they are. Like I would weigh them a certain. I weigh them a certain amount. I don't know if only statements gets me all the way there, if that's the only thing. But
I have a question.
I weigh them.
I have a question. We're saying that. So when we say, you keep saying his rights are violated, where did you get that info? And then the comment about the Frank's memo being gospel. So I think that the meaning behind these particular statements is just because the defense says that his rights have been violated doesn't mean that they have been. But are we basing that off of the prosecution saying that they didn't violate his rights? Like is there a world where we think that if they did violate his rights, that they would come forward and say, we're sorry, we violated his rights?
They're going to come forward and say, we're sorry that we intentionally hid all of this shit.
Yeah.
When we're not allowed to do that. Just FYI,
are we saying it's not true? Because
my degrees are in criminal justice, in criminology, and in forensic science. So my thought process when it comes to addressing a case really comes from that. It doesn't come from what I think the defense is saying or what I think the defense, you know, or that I just buy anything that one side or the other says. I don't at all. So I'm almost like questioning, like, can I have a wrench actually check and see if that is Sleuth? Because
that's really sad, man, that you are so. That's really sad. And I almost hope that it's not, but if I had to guess, I would say that it is. And I'm really sorry for you that you're so surprised by his actual thoughts on the matter and where he thinks you're getting your opinion from. Because I hate that for you, because I know you do like him.
I do very much.
And like even in private,
I too like Sleuth.
Well,
but yeah,
I don't know. If anybody actually thinks that, I feel like they don't pay attention to anything I ever say, because that's
the point, D. That's the point, D. That they don't. What people say is not relevant at all. It's only talking points and saying the same thing over and over again. And
it's like Thien was saying earlier when he said that you can't, like, there's certain things that you just can't concede. Like, it's like that overwhelming urge to just, it all has to be bullshit. None of it can be true. And if you're considering any of it true, then you're like you're thinking you're like on the defense side.
So, Sleuth, if you voice your opinion at some kind of an attack, you're confused. I actually don't. I love your opinion on most things, but when you make a statement as fact that I take the Frank memo as gospel, that is not an opinion. You're stating that as like it's a fact. Like that's what I do. But the problem is I don't, and I think I'm just surprised that certain people that I've interacted with so much even would consider that as an opinion at this point. So, you know, and I think, and I'm gonna wrap it up after this, because I don't even want to deal with it. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm absolutely surprised. I'm absolutely surprised that before I got sick and now, that there are people that I have interacted with on a plethora of times. I mean, just an abundance of times that I am now seeing in a very different light the closer we get to trial, because I have not changed. If you go back to listen to my very first lives on Delphi, well, not my first ones, because back then I actually thought Richard Allen was guilty, ironically. If you go back and start listening to around the ones that started in July, August, I've never wavered on the fact that I don't know if this guy is guilty. I don't know if he's the right guy or not. I just want to make sure that he is the right guy. That's it. And so I will not argue with somebody else's quote unquote opinion on whether you think he's the right guy or not. I don't care what your opinion is. And I also would never go to somebody's channel and be like, oh my gosh, you take you take Nick McClelland's word for everything. And it's ridiculous. I would never do that. I just don't do that because I have more respect. But the fact that like the closer we get to trial, I'm seeing so many other things that I'm very surprised about when it comes to certain people. And I really shouldn't be, because I've been in this true crime community for a very long time. And I know that people hide their true colors a lot, but I'm here. I'm here. I don't know if this fucking guy did it or not. I don't, if he ultimately did and they come out with some grand, information or evidence, I'm fine with that. I don't care. For me, it's just not enough yet. That doesn't mean I buy anything. And I'm really surprised at like the aggressiveness of how people are acting when they don't know either. And so I'm just going to say right now, like my education is based around the Constitution. And so maybe people should study it and actually figure out what your constitutional rights are if you live in America. And then tell me, come back here and tell me that his rights haven't been violated by just annihilating the evidence and just, fuck it. It's okay. It's okay that we just throw him in prison for however fucking long. We don't really fucking care what happens because we think he's guilty. Now, I don't care if he's fucking guilty. I care about his constitutional rights. And whether you agree with me or not, I'm at the point where I don't give a fuck. Don't come back. I'm done. Thank you guys for being up here for this entirely wonderful live that I'm so glad that I came back for.
I think you know how you are, Teresa, and we know how you are too. Like I said, I'm really upset for you that, and it's not about being aggressive. It's just about, I guess, mischaracterizing someone's character. And I know that you don't think that every part of the Franks memo is gospel, but I think that you weigh things appropriately in every filing that comes out. And how you weigh it is entirely up to you, number one. And number two, I also am uncomfortable living in a world where, like, there's people around me that don't need to know all of the evidence and, like, the truth. Like, they're perfectly okay with just knowing a little bit that the state wants them to see. Like, I don't feel comfortable in a place like that. Like, if we're hiding stuff from juries that might not seem great for us, then I feel like we're not really getting to the truth, and we're just caring about whether someone goes to prison. And I don't like that, because there's so many implications with that. Like, it also means that there's people that are out here that are like murderers, but because we arrested,
you just want the right guy.
Big deal. Yeah. Like,
because I don't buy one thing or another. It's like, I don't know. And I think that's where it kind of comes down to, is like,
well, saying his rights are being violated is not the same as his rights actually being violated. That's true. But again, if you're just weighing it based off of the state,
hold on, saying his rights have not been violated, also just saying it doesn't mean that his rights have not been violated.
Correct.
Let's just go with that. I mean, like, because if I can say whatever the fuck I want to say, and ultimately at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit on that jury, and I'm not the one who's going to fight for him on a legal stance. I'm just a person on YouTube who comes on here to talk, and I'm not going to argue with people. I guess for me, I don't know. I'm disappointed, and I'm just disappointed, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I'm going to go. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to play the end, but thank you guys for all the super chats. Thank you guys for being here. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Good night.
Do you dare to follow me down? Head into the unknown, down the rabbit hole, where it stops no one knows. We're going head into the unknown.